And so first of all, we will do a roll call, please.
This is the roll call vote for the August 8th, 2024 Planning Commission. Brown,
Here.
Hart. Here. Hodges,
Here.
Lundy, Commissioner Lundy, McDonald,
Present.
Person,
Present.
Samad,
Here.
Vogel,
Present.
Baxter,
Present.
Russell,
Present.
Vickers.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. And just FYI, for all the commissioners understand and know this is our last meeting in this particular building. So our next month, our meeting will pretty much reconvene in the City Hall, which is everything has been redesigned and improved, and it's going to look beautiful. So we're excited about that. At this particular time, I think all the commissioners had a good deal to review the minutes, so I would entertain a motion for approval of the minutes.
Motion to approve as submitted.
We have a motion and a second, and a roll call, please.
Brown,
Yes.
Hart. Yes. Hodges,
Yes.
Lundy, McDonald,
Yes.
Person,
Yes.
Samad,
Yes.
Vogel,
Yes.
Baxter,
Yes.
Russell,
Aye.
Vickers.
Yes.
Minutes are approved.
All right, thank you. Moving right along here, we will have the reading for our consent agenda.
Mr. Chairman, before we have that reading, just wanted to remind you, my employer actually has an item on this consent agenda, so I will be recusing from the consent agenda today.
Thank you, Commissioner Hart. Thank you for the record for that. Montiel.
Following is the consent agenda for the Little Rock Planning Commission meeting of August 8th, 2024. The first group of items are the items that are going to be deferred or withdrawn. Item 1, S-1963, is being deferred to the September 12th, 2024 agenda due to further legal issues. The deferral will not be charged to the applicant. Item number 3, S-1976, is being deferred to the September 12th agenda as the applicant failed to complete notifications to surrounding property owners. Item number 5, Z-10011, is being deferred to the October 10th, 2024 agenda at the request of the applicant. Item 7, Z-10012, is being withdrawn at the request of the applicant. And item 16, Z-10022, is being deferred to the September 12th agenda at the request of the applicant. Next are the items on consent approval. Item 2, Z-10002, Total Land Corporation, PCD, 9020 Chico Road. Staff recommends approval of the requested PCD zoning, subject to compliance with the comments and conditions outlined in paragraph E and the staff analysis of the agenda staff report. Item number 6, Z-9955A, Okpala Auto Sales, PDC, 1417 West Roosevelt Road. Staff recommends approval of the requested PDC zoning, subject to compliance with the comments and conditions outlined in paragraphs E and F and the staff analysis of the agenda staff report. Item number 9, S-867K 10, Chenal Valley Phase 36 preliminary plat, south of Chenal Parkway and west of Shannon Show Boulevard. Staff recommends approval of the requested preliminary plat and associated variances, subject to compliance with the comments and conditions outlined in paragraphs D and E and the staff analysis of the agenda staff report. Item number 10 is being moved to the regular agenda for discussion. Item 11, S-1888E, Fletcher Valley Park preliminary plat, north of Canis Road, west of Fletcher Valley Drive. Staff recommends approval of the requested preliminary plat, subject to compliance with the comments and conditions outlined in paragraphs D and E and the staff analysis of the agenda staff report. Item number 12 is being moved to the regular agenda for discussion. Item 13 is also being moved to the regular agenda for discussion. Item 14, Z-10015, Mangus Accessory Dwelling, conditional use permit, 219 Rosetta Street. Staff recommends approval of the CUP request, subject to compliance with the comments and conditions noted in paragraph E and the staff analysis of the agenda staff report. Item 17, 10,028, Snow Leopard LLC Event Center, CUP, 1416 East 9th Street. Staff recommends approval of the CUP request, subject to compliance with the comments and conditions noted in paragraph E and the staff analysis of the agenda staff report. Item 18, Z3371I3, a rezoning from C3 to C4, east side of South Bowman Road, approximately 1,200 feet north of Colonel Glenn Road. Staff recommends approval of the requested C4 rezoning. Item 19, Z2908E, JWJ Investments PDC, 5914 West 19th Street. Staff recommends approval of the requested PDC zoning, subject to compliance with the comments and conditions outlined in paragraphs D, E, and F and the staff analysis of the agenda staff report. Item 21, Z5959D, Stagecoach Properties LLC PCD, 3204 Shackelford Pass. Staff recommends approval of the requested PCD zoning, subject to compliance with the comments and conditions outlined in paragraphs E and F and the staff analysis of the agenda staff report. Item 22, Z10020, Apex Real Estate, POD, 13151 Cantrell Road. Staff recommends approval of the requested POD zoning, subject to compliance with the comments and conditions outlined in paragraphs E and F and the staff analysis of the agenda staff report. Item 23 is being moved to the regular agenda for discussion. And the final item on consent approval is item number 24, 10,023, Harris STR2 PDC, 1807 East 3rd Street. Staff recommends approval of the PDC zoning request, subject to compliance with the comments and conditions noted in paragraph E and the staff analysis of the agenda staff report. That concludes the consent agenda.
Thank you, Monty. If we don't have any comments or questions from any of the commissioners, with the exception of Commissioner Hart, I would love to entertain a motion for approval.
Motion to approve the consent agenda as submitted with all staff's comments and recommendations.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Can we please get a roll call for voting, please?
Brown,
Yes.
Hart, is recused. Hodges,
Yes.
Lunday, McDonald,
Yes.
Person,
Yes.
Samad,
Yes.
Vogel,
Yes.
Baxter,
Yes.
Russell,
Aye.
Vickers.
Yes.
The consent agenda has been approved.
Thank you. If your item was on the consent agenda or approved agenda, you are free to leave at this particular time. If your item got moved to the regular agenda, then you obviously would need to stay. So at this time, we will give just a brief moment for anyone that needs to depart can leave at this particular time. Also, Monty, I want to make a rearrangement for the regular agenda. So I want to have the item number 4 is the first one. I'm going to make item 8 the second one. Item 4 is the first. Item 15 is the second. Item 20 is the third. And then afterwards, we will go in numerical order. So we will have that as 8, item 10, item 12, 13, and 23. All right.
That's 4, 15, 20, 8, 10, 12, 13, 23.
I'm sorry, Monty.
So that's 4, 15, 20, 8, 10, 12, 13, 23. Is that correct?
Correct. All right. So let's move right along here to the regular agenda. And we're going to move with item number 4Z-1009. Is the applicant present? If so, please make your way to the podium and we will have the reading.
Item number 4, file number Z 10,009, Excited Riverdale Mini Warehouses, conditional use permit located at 2510 Cantrell Road. The applicant is requesting a conditional use permit to allow an existing commercial building to be converted to a mini warehouse use. There'll be no modification to the exterior footprint of the structure. A second floor will be constructed inside the existing structure. The existing property contains an 18,789 square foot structure. The request is in the Heights Hillcrest Planning District. The land use plan shows commercial for this area and the surrounding area. Ample parking exists on the site to serve the proposed facility. Easements will be provided to allow cross-access and parking with the lot immediately to the west. Section 36557A requires that all on-premise wall signs face required street frontage. The applicant is requesting a variance to allow a sign on the west facade of the building, and this will face interior to the parking lot. Staff does not support the proposed CUP to allow conversion of the existing building to a mini warehouse use. Staff believes another mini warehouse development in this general area will represent a proliferation of this type of use within a relatively small area. There are currently 3 other mini warehouses within approximately a half-mile radius of this location. They are at 1320 Brookwood Drive, 1020 Jesse Road, and 2000 Cantrell Road, and therefore staff recommends denial of the conditional use permit application.
Thank you. Before we get started, I just wanted to make a statement for all items on the regular agenda that the applicant, as well as any opposition, have up to a total of 20 minutes. So we want to respect everybody's time here and every item on the regular agenda moving forward. So with that being said, applicant, please state your name for the record.
Certainly. My name is Cliff McKinney. I'm an attorney at Quattlebaum, Grooms, and Toll, and I'm here on behalf of Modern Storage, which is the developer of this location. I also have with me here that'll be, if we need to have them say anything, we have Tim Daters, who's the project engineer for this, Keith Richardson, and Alexandra Richardson, who are the owners of Modern Storage. And we also have some other people that may end up speaking as well. As noted, this is a request for a conditional use permit to utilize the existing building at 2510 Cantrell Road for a mini warehouse unit. Just to give you a little bit of history, this site was originally a Harvest Foods grocery store, which closed. After that, this site was acquired by Walmart, and they used it as a neighborhood market for a time before it closed about 7 years ago. Then after that, the most recent use has actually been the city's Arkansas Museum of Fine Arts used the building for storage while they were renovating the existing art museum. So most recent use has been for storage. One note, this building is actually closer to 69,000 square feet, not 18,000 square feet, so it's significantly larger than was mentioned. And as I said, it's been vacant for approximately 7 years, other than, again, while the city was using it for storage during the art museum renovation. It's frankly too large for a typical grocery store, and there have been 2 attempts to use this as a grocery store, both of which closed. And the building has suffered from vandalism and deterioration since it has been stagnant for so long. Using the building for mini storage is actually consistent with what some of the other Harvest Foods in this area have happened to them, including in Maumelle and Sherwood. That's how these old buildings have been reused. Using it for a mini storage unit also benefits the shopping center and has the full support of the shopping center's owners, and they can tell you that if you would like as well. Mini storage is not parking intensive, so it saves the parking lot for other uses that would allow the further redevelopment of the shopping center with more parking intensive users. For instance, it would actually allow part of the parking lot to be used for another out parcel where there could be another restaurant or there could be some other type of retail development that could go in that area and benefit. Given that the self-storage business generates low traffic, this will allow the project to support 2 different commercial developments, which will enhance the overall appeal of the area as well as help the shopping center. The city has previously granted approval of several other storage facilities in other areas in the city. Despite those areas having a higher self-storage per square foot per capita. Actually, if you could move along the slides. The slide deck's not going. There's some images of what this would look like. Here, if you could advance me to slide 5, please. So what you're frankly, we're perplexed why the city would recommend denial in this situation. As noted, there are 3 other facilities in the general vicinity, but those are 25-year-old plus facilities with very little, if any, climate-controlled units, so very few available to the community. And frankly, we don't see why there'd be a reason for denial on that basis. As we said, we're just requesting a conditional use permit, not rezoning. As far as we can see, there are no reasons for opposing this other than just economic competition, which is not a valid basis for the Planning Commission to deny this application. To our knowledge, the only objections that have been made have been from a direct competitor, which would indicate a motivation to limit competition more than to actually be concerned about the development of the community. Talking about those 3 units, what you're seeing right here is a study that was done by a national self-storage data company called Radius Plus, and it shows the current availability of storage in various parts of the Little Rock metro area. In this particular area near Riverdale, there's only 8.4 square feet of storage, according to this national study, that's available per capita. If you could go to the next slide, B, if you move towards the Green Mountain part of Little Rock, you see that that goes up by 33% to 12.5 square feet of storage. Moving to next slide, further into the Wellington Hills Road area, you get up to 17.9 square feet. And again, as a reminder, we're at only 8.4 in this area. If you go to the next slide, Maumelle has 33 square feet available. You can keep going, and I'll just keep kind of sliding through these. Bryant has 33.7. Sherwood is 16.2. Hot Springs is 54.5. And again, our facility is only 8.4 is what's currently available in this area. So this is frankly, it's an underserved area, especially when you take into account the availability of a new facility that has 100% climate-controlled availability for people who want to use it. I also think it's at least worth noting that proximity to other facilities is not a legitimate basis for the Planning Commission to deny approval under the Little Rock Code. So Little Rock Code section 36107 has a list of 17 standards for considering conditional use permits. That covers about 5 pages of the code book. And it does not list in there denial based on economic competition. It does, though, notably, have 5 uses where you are supposed to consider proximity to other similar facilities. Those are group homes, correctional facilities, homeless shelters, event centers, and private clubs. Mini storage is not on that list of ones that you're supposed to consider proximity to others. If the city board had wanted you to consider that as part of the basis, they could easily have added that to the list as well. So economic competition, proximity, those are not good reasons. But if you go to slide 12, please, there are very good reasons to approve this. That's a rendering of what this will look like. Modern Storage is a locally owned and business that's proudly headquartered here in Little Rock. They're more than just a storage provider. They are deeply invested in our community with many local developments that provide premium amenities to our community and to other Arkansans. And if you keep sliding through, you're going to see some of the other facilities that they've developed. They currently operate 8 of these across the state. Each of them has a proven record of success and a clear dedication to enhancing our community. This particular facility will be designed to be a state-of-the-art facility. It will feature no externally accessible doors. It will have loading and unloading areas located at the rear of the building, which will reduce traffic problems and other congestion issues. This thoughtfully designed feature provides better functionality as well as improving the aesthetics of the overall development and the overall shopping center. This will offer top-tier amenities, including, as I mentioned, 100% climate controlled. There's over 100 security cameras planned, keypad access. There'll also be a business center and a conference room available for people to use who are storing things here. There's a Starbucks machine that's going to be available for the customers. And something important as someone whose office is downtown, I took particular note of this, a package acceptance service will be offered through this, which will be a valuable resource for businesses in the Riverdale and the downtown and the Hillcrest and Heights area. So this is adding a feature that's not currently there. It's improving a shopping center. It's a good reuse of an existing facility, and it's going to provide a good benefit to what a national study says is an underserved area. And so with that, if you could scroll back up to slide 1, because there's some other people that want to speak, and I would like to reserve time to come back up to the podium and respond after other comments are complete, including I'd like to request the opportunity to respond after we hear opposition comments. So, thank you very much.
Thank you. So we have several cards in support and one card in opposition. So at this particular time, because we have several in support, I will go in the order here. And what is the time we have left on this, Torrance?
For the applicant, 10 minutes, 18 seconds.
Okay, thank you. The first one is it T.S. Leffler? I'm saying that right?
That's definitely my fault. My name's TJ Leffler.
Okay, excuse me.
All good. I'm the owner of the Riverdale Shopping Center there. We are working with Modern Storage. I represent the group that collectively owns the shopping center. We purchased the property in May of 2022, and since then, we invested over $3 million into the property, including upgrades to the parking lot, the facade, lighting, the landscaping, just to name a few. You guys may have seen the bank building in the front that we tore down as well. We made all these investments up front to give us the best chance of finding a tenant for this vacant box. We hired professional leasing help, attended trade shows, and directly marketed to retail, grocery, office, medical, just to see what we could get. But we thought redoing the property first would give us the best chance to actually land somebody to occupy the space. We were unfortunately told, a lot of no's, especially from grocery stores, and that in particular, I listened to the neighbors as well, and that was one thing people wanted. And with the fact that 2 have failed, we still thought there ought to be one to consider it, and we were told to go away from quite a few because we kept repeatedly asking them. Over the last couple years, the only tenants, honestly, that have expressed interest have been sort of discount, temporary uses that would kind of put a banner up or something for a little bit, and we don't feel like that's necessarily the best thing for the center. After 2 years of trying to find a tenant and considering the history of the 2 grocery stores that have failed, the last one in 2017, we feel Modern Storage concept is an excellent choice to help fill out the neighborhood center. Our plan to make the center look appealing has helped reduce crime and vandalism and has hopefully made the area feel safer to shop in and just look good from the road. However, we still face some issues a little bit with that box because it's been vacant for some time. So we have a little vandalism still going on there. But we do believe that Modern Storage occupying the facility with the new facade, the windows are going to put in that you saw. We like the 100 cameras. We really like the conference room, the amenities for the tenants as well, so you can actually hang out there. Like when I went and visited the other facility, this one was in North Little Rock. There are just people working there, co-working there, hanging out, and we like that. We want people. We want traffic for the center, but we also like that if you see next to the box, there's actually a little rendering there. That's currently a gas station. That gas station's on a lease. And the Dollar Tree is also on a lease. And those 2 things we actually feel like one day will be redeveloped into out parcels. If we were to put retail in the box, it would be a much harder time filling out that out parcel because of parking. But since the storage is not going to affect our parking field, we can actually we're not giving up hope on a grocery store still. We have other options for a grocery store, that out parcel or a spot in the back still. And so we do like that we can do more frontage. You've seen some of the users we've gotten in, the Taco Bell, Pizza Hut, great clips. Of course, we have Eat My Catfish, which is great. And so far, the tenants have been great that have been coming in. It's just kind of been this box that's been a challenge. But when I met the Modern Storage Group and walked through their facility and started working with them on this, we were ecstatic. We thought that this would be a great use for the area, for all the amenities all the reasons that Cliff had mentioned before. I am a believer in Riverdale and Little Rock. I grew up in Searcy and grew up coming to the center as a kid. I named this LLC Excited Riverdale with an X because it was Excite whenever I was growing up. It was the laser tag place. And I always thought this would be a great redevelopment. I mean, it literally, when I guess it was 25 years ago, that facade was yellow and red from Excite. It still was that way 2 years ago until we came in. And I just always thought, man, if we could redo this property and make it a new facade, make it look appealing, we would end up getting these tenants. And so honestly, it's proven to be successful. Other than the box so far, everything else we're super happy with. And we were super happy with this idea of the modern storage box. I also own the Wrights Barbecue nearby. We did the same thing. We bought an older building. We refurbished it. They are doing extremely well. Love to be here. And so all that being said, I have been in real estate for about 20 years. And it's been all Arkansas, and that's all it's ever going to be my whole life. I feel like my reputation is on the line with this center. I know it's a very prominent center for Little Rock, and I don't want it to look bad. So I do not feel like this use is going to look bad or negative. I feel like it's going to be good for the area. I feel like my reputation is on the line. And overall, I feel like this will round out the portion of the center that will allow us to continue leasing the remaining out parcels and the center spaces to quality retailers and possibly a grocer or something like that in the future. So thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you. The next card in support is Gary Mertens. If you're available, please come to the podium.
I do all the design for modern storage facilities around the state. And the thing that we loved about it is a community, it creates a community center for anyone that uses the facility. You've got this great conference room. We've got the Starbucks coffee machine. And I'm based here in Riverdale. I own the old Cordell's Deli there on Redmond Park. And I've been there for about 18 years. And so my interest is to see this continue to grow, look nice, and be a really great asset to this area. I also live up in the Heights, and so it's great being able to just drop down the hill and be right there and have all these, amenities around us. The big thing too is as we were putting these together, having the Starbucks coffee machine, having the idea and the access to being able to have your packages delivered there and put in your unit. The unit that the storage facility we did in West Little Rock, we have wine lockers. So you can, if you're a big wine connoisseur, you can ship your wine there, and they put it in a locker for you. So you don't have to have it sitting on your porch when you get home. The thing that I love is if I'm out in West Little Rock with clients out there, we've used the conference room multiple times where we had 6 or 8 of us getting together with contractors and doing different things. So it was great to have that space to be spread out and work in. The other thing that we love, even with a place here in Riverdale, it really allows that same thing, because a lot of times, a lot of the groups that a lot of the businessmen are involved in, we need a big place to meet where we can have more than, just the small conference room that I have at my office, and being able to meet with, 10, 12, 14 people and having a big conference room that can handle it is fantastic. And I know that in talking with Keith and his daughter, the owners, they are totally fine with this being a community center. And so if you are leasing from them one of the units, you have full access at no charge for this facility. But if you're a businessman or a business group and you want to use it, there's a small fee. So it's not just limited to the people that have a unit there. And I think that helps this whole area greatly. And I feel like, having something that's not a big discount center that creates all kinds of the less desirable folks that we really want to keep this nice upscale program going on. And I think it benefits everybody in the neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. Travis Hester.
How are we doing on time? I'm a little concerned that they're not going to have
3
enough
minutes.
time to respond.
3 minutes remaining for the applicant.
3 minutes? Okay.
That's correct.
Hey, my name is Travis Hester. I'm the founder and president of Eat My Catfish. I'm also part of the Excited Riverdale ownership team. The vision of revitalizing the shopping center spurred from us looking at the old Pizza Hut back in the fall of 2021. At the time, the building was really needed major improvements. The parking lot had a lot of holes. The lighting was bad. There was a homeless camp out back, and the shopping center was really just had not been invested in quite some time. We only looked at it for a few minutes when we knew at that point there was no intent of us returning to open up a business. At that time, me and Mr. Leffler had been working together for the prior 3 to 4 years, expanding our brand throughout the state, while also looking for buildings and properties in the communities that needed an injection of resources to allow new and current tenants to flourish. When I left Riverdale, I never did intend to go back and open up a store there, but that's Mr. Leffler. Really, what he's good at is the ability to see the potential long before others can see it or realize it. And so when he called me around the beginning of 2022, they told me about the possibility of us buying the center as a whole and revitalizing it, I was immediately interested, and mainly because I'd heard so much about what the locals, including Mr. Leffler, what he talked about, myself, how we remembered that shopping center. Along the way after we got started, I was fortunate to be a part of the recruiting conversation with other local businesses that we really wanted to bring into the shopping center, including local businesses that looked at the big box. And really want to note that, I was part of those recruitment conversations because I want to revitalize it, but also because my business needs it. My business needs that area to feel safe. It needs the increased traffic count, and it needs that area to feel alive again. I can say 100% that we will not be successful in that shopping center even now until we get that big center, that big box leased and refinished, revamped, reimagined, and I think others won't be either. Even as recent as June 3rd, our business was broken into at that shopping center, including with also including several other in the shopping center, and one was actually robbed at gunpoint that day. The individuals that broke in were so confident that they would not get caught that after they failed to get into a safe, they came back 30 minutes later, came back in and got the money. Vacant buildings don't help with crime, we know that. And I know that revitalized buildings don't prevent it either, but making that big box look new again and adding 100 cameras undoubtedly will help deter that crime in that area, which is one of our biggest things. In closing, as a tenant of Riverdale Shopping Center, we need this building reimagined so we can secure that area and increase the traffic counts. I appreciate your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm sure time, Torrance, what's the time? Is it up?
Time has elapsed.
Okay.
If I can
All right.
ask for a point of clarification. The public who are speaking in support are being counted against the applicant in terms of time? Shouldn't the applicant get 20 minutes and all opposition and support get 20 minutes?
Commissioner Russell, I think that the 20-minute rule is something that the commission, it's part of the bylaws, and the chair can add time. We've done that in the past.
Yeah, I was going to
So
allow
as a
the last
commissioner,
one.
if you feel like the applicant should have more time, you could certainly request that from the chair.
I'm just wondering why the applicant is being penalized because there are people here to speak in favor of his application when the opposition is going to get a full 20 minutes.
Sure, and that might be something we want to consider as a bylaw amendment.
Just public comment.
The applicant may want to clarify, but I believe the people that are here in support are part of the applicant's presentation.
But they filled out a card,
Correct.
which means they're public commenters. They're not part of the application. They're
just
here
gonna
to
throw-
speak as public citizens.
I'm going to throw in a comment. I mean, I believe that by motion of the commission, if approved, we can grant more time to the applicant if it's appropriate.
Which is totally fine. I'm actually asking for a clarification as to why the applicant, who does not have to fill out a card in order to speak, is having his time penalized by those who are here to speak in support of his application, who did fill out a card to speak as public citizens.
Mr. Chair, I don't think that we need necessarily a vote. You can allow more time as chair.
No, I understand that, and due to the bylaws, and thank you, Vice Chair.
Still actually waiting for an answer to my question.
If I can jump in here real quick. I believe, and I'll let the director and the attorney correct me, in the bylaws it says applicant, the applicant and the opposition have 20 minutes. And the applicant, people who are speaking for the applicant are counted as being for it. That's the way the bylaws currently read. the chair can add time to it. I'm just saying, having been on that side many times, the chair can add time to it. If we want to amend the bylaws to change that, let's have a discussion, but that's because what the bylaws say today. I see your point, and maybe there's a point, somewhere we should discuss to change the bylaws, but that's because that's what the bylaws say as of, what is it, August 8th, 2024. So that's the answer.
That does answer the question, thank you. So we should put that on the agenda because I don't think it's right.
Valid point.
Well,
You made that, Commissioner. And let me say this, just for all the due of time, I know everybody want to yell in everything, and if y'all want to, Commissioners, afterward, I want to respect the citizens out here and due to time. And if we talk about this, then it's taking more time. So what I like to do is, we have one more card of support, and I do want to give, if Cliff McKinney, if you're present, please come up here to the podium, and we're going to give you a couple of minutes to make your support.
That is me. I just filled out a card because that's, in the past, I've been required to do that as well. So if I could just reserve a few minutes to speak after the opposition, just to talk. That's the only thing I'd request.
All right, thank you. So we only have one card in opposition, and that is Dan Lusk. If you're here, please come to the podium.
Thank you. My name is Dan Lusk, and I have been here before in opposition to new storage in the city of Little Rock because we are grossly overbuilt, and we're getting into a situation where there's going to be some facilities, if they're not already in financial strain, they will be when they get built and opened. A couple of things. I want to correct the record. First of all, I sat on the board of the Arkansas Self-Storage Association for 12 years, so I've always been an advocate for storage, but we have to advocate for healthy storage. And I would like to point out that wasn't mentioned, I do have a storage facility in Riverdale, right down the street from this proposed location. It's 100,000 square feet. It is primarily a climate-controlled storage facility. There are 5 facilities already in that area, 3 of the facilities which have climate control. When you go to develop a new facility, obviously, if you're responsible, you get a feasibility study. I'm familiar with Radius Plus, but I don't know that the applicant did a full feasibility study. I'm perplexed by their case that the Riverdale area is underserved because there's only 8.4 square feet per cap, when the national average is 5 to 7 square feet per cap. Some parts of Little Rock, we have exceeded 20 square feet per capita. That means there is 20 square feet of storage out there for every citizen in the city of Little Rock. And that's insane. It's absolutely irresponsible. When you look at a proposed site, you normally look at the demographics for a 3 to 5 mile radius. And you look around and you see try to determine what the demand is for new storage. In the Riverdale area, it's a very peculiar situation because you got to take the river and draw a line right down the river. Half of your 3 to 5 mile radius is automatically gone because people don't cross barriers. They won't cross a river, they won't cross a freeway. And so now we have half of that area. I was looking today at where my customers are coming from, and they're primarily coming from 2 zip codes, 72202 and 72227. My facility's not full. In fact, our occupancies are down. Our rental rates are down, and we're discounting because, unfortunately, in this economy, people are starting to feel it. And some economists would say we're headed into a recession. And people don't have the disposable income that they had. So when they're paying what they're paying at the grocery store and the gas pump, they can get rid of grandma's old furniture that's in my storage facility because they can't afford to pay for that unit anymore. They mentioned, I'm glad they corrected the fact that the building is, I show it to be 65,000 square feet on Mr. Leffler's website. If you take 65,000 square feet times 2, because they're going to have 2 levels inside this building, you're at 130,000 square feet. If you take 70% of that, that puts you at 91,000 net square rentable feet inside of that building. You show me, I'd like to see where the demand numbers that they have can justify that we are underserved in this area by 91,000 square feet. And the other thing, the other component is, what's the lease-up time? When you drop a facility that size into a small area like the Riverdale area, there is going to be an absorption time. If they can ever fill it up, it's going to take time. What are they projecting? How many years to fill it up? Because in that time that they're trying to fill it up, they're taking customers from the other 5 existing storage facilities in that area. Now, that could be substantial because if we all start hurting financially, we're going back to the county assessor and want our taxes lowered because we're not going to be able to afford it. Right now, this year, my insurance doubled. I know some people here in Little Rock that their insurance quadrupled. Our property taxes keep going up. We've lowered rents every month since the first of the year, and we're discounting. The applicant has 8 storage facilities in Arkansas. If you go on his website, he's given away free rent and discounts at every one of his properties on basically every size he has. That tells me one thing: he's not full. Nobody's full anymore. We're all struggling. The new facility out by Costco, a friend of mine that opened that a few months back, he's struggling and he's worried. He told me the other day, he said, we rented 5 units in the month of July. And he said, I'm really getting antsy. And there's another storage facility coming out of the ground right across the street from him. The Riverdale area is a very small area, and I don't believe that there is a need for a 91,000 square foot facility. I have an article from the New York Times from April of 2024. I'd be happy to share it with any of you, but the title is Americans Went All In on Self-Storage. That demand is suddenly cooling. In this article, it talks about how the existing storage facilities and communities are being pressured by rising insurance costs and everything that they do in their business. They're having to lower rates. Their occupancies are dropping. It also talks in here about how many facilities were abandoned. There was like 279 facilities abandoned in the United States last year because they were no longer viably economic, I guess. I'm sorry. If this project goes in, and I personally, I'm familiar with Modern Storage, and they build beautiful facilities, but I'm not sure it's the right use for a retail shopping center. On Mr. Leffler's website, he has taken big box buildings like this before and divided them into multiple businesses and been successful. So I'm not really sure why we wouldn't try something like that. They mentioned that it's too big for a grocery store. I agree, it is too big, but cut the building in half or maybe in thirds and see if we could get a grocery store down there, because we desperately need one in that community. A lot of my customers in the Heights tell me they hate the Kroger up there. It's terrible. They don't like it. They would love another option in that area. So again, 8.4 square feet per cap is still above the national, it's above the national average. So they can't say that the area is underserved. Ask them what their feasibility study shows. Where are they getting this information that there is that kind of demand, and how long do they expect it to take to lease that property up? I know that in the letter that Mark Savers wrote to you guys, that he talked about major investment to boost the tax base. I don't know how you're going to boost the tax base when you're diluting the square footage that's already in the area, and everybody's going back to the assessor and asking for their property taxes to be lowered. So I would ask for the board to take all of this into consideration and for a no vote. Thank you much for your time.
Thank you. And we will have Cliff McKinney to come back up, and we give him 3 minutes to make his summary. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. What you've heard as opposition boils down to anti-competition, to not wanting us to compete with them on a market basis, which that is an irrelevant factor for this board or this commission to consider when deciding. The Little Rock Code lists 5 specific uses where proximity is a factor. This is not one of them. Economic competition is not a factor. Let the free market decide whether this is a good facility or not, as opposed when talking about the competition. What we were able to show you was a national study from Radius Plus that says this is one of the most underserved areas in our community for storage with 8.4 units. And actually, if you look at that study further, you'll see only 4.25 square feet of conditioned space, where 100% of this building will be conditioned space. But not only that, what factors are relevant? This is good for the community. This is good for the Riverdale area. You heard the owners of the shopping center. You heard a business owner of the shopping center tell you they need to do something with this box. 2 other retailers have tried to use this box and weren't able to make it work as a whole. This will revitalize this. This will make this shopping center better. It will help the tenants that are already there. It will improve the whole look of this community. That is something you can consider. Something else is, does this provide a benefit to the community? And it does. We talked about the package acceptance. We talked about the community facility that's available for the conference rooms. And what you saw was a good developer, someone headquartered here in Little Rock, proudly building a business here in Little Rock. Let them build a business here. Let them take this challenging building, this legacy that the city has, and convert it into something that will be good for the community, that will benefit positively. And with that, we would request a good vote on this. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Chairman Vickers, I want to be very brief because I know the commissioners are going to have questions, and so I want to direct them now. Under Section 36107 for conditional use review, the commission is required to look at the public health, safety, and welfare, that the proposed land use is compatible and will not adversely affect the other property. It conforms to all the other provisions, but one of the things, as the applicant has mentioned, economic feasibility is never something that this commission is required to do. It's their business plan. So I would ask the commission to limit their questions to those things that you're required to look at: public safety, health, welfare, traffic, compatible uses, and those types of questions. Thank you.
Thank you. At this particular time, I want to open the floor up for questions or comments with any of the commissioners. Commissioner Hart. Go ahead.
Yeah, in light of what council just said, I question why staff used the reason of we have too many already in the market. That just seems like a reason that is beyond the scope of what we're here to do. You could make that argument about a whole lot of different business, banks, Mexican restaurants, car washes. You could make that argument. I think we've all watched this building suffer and be a drag on this shopping center. So we have the shopping center developer here telling us that he's in favor of it. I think an approval of this is the responsible thing to do, to give the building a little new life and to enhance the shopping center. And I wasn't buying the argument from the get-go that we have enough storage facilities in our market. That's not our call, and really never is our call when it comes to what type of business goes where. So I'm supporting this because we've all watched that facility languish over the last couple of decades, and I think this is a good solution to help bring some life back to that building and that center. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from any of the commissioners? If not, I would love to entertain a motion. And remember, the staff recommended for denial on this, so we have to make the motion in the affirmative.
Make a motion to approve application file number Z10009 at 2510 Cantrell Road with all staff's recommendations and conditions, with the exception of the recommendation for denial.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second on the table. Can we get a roll call for vote? And just for all the commissioners, I know we already know this. So a yes is a yes for it, and a no is a no. So Can we get a roll call for voting, please?
Person,
Yes.
Samad,
Yes.
Vogel,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Lunday, McDonald,
Yes.
Baxter. Yes. Hodges,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Russell,
Aye.
Vickers.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, motion passes. Thank you for coming out. And we're going to move right along here accordingly to item number 15, Z-10019. Is the applicant present? Yes. If so, please make your way to the podium, and we will have the reading while you make your way.
Item 15, file number Z 10019. This is the First Responders ECDC Daycare. Conditional use permit located at 5217 Mapleville Pike. The applicant is requesting this conditional use permit to operate a 24-hour daycare on this R2 zone property. The property is located at the southwest corner of Mapleville Pike and Sunnydale Drive. The property consists of a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, brick and frame house. The request is in the 65th Street East Planning District. Land use plan shows residential low density for this area. The property owner currently lives at this location, and there's a 1-car wide concrete driveway with a 2-car wide carport. The First Responders Early Childhood Development Center is a 24-hour daycare specializing in accommodating parents who have unconventional work schedules. They will offer a drive-in service and inclement weather service. The maximum number of children to be cared for will be 30. They plan on having 10 children per shift. There'll be 3 shifts, 7 a.m. to 3 p.m., 3 p.m. to 11 p.m., and 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. There'll be 2 staff members per shift, 1 per every 5 children. The proposed daycare will operate on a daily basis. It will be closed from 6 p.m. on Saturday until 6 a.m. on Monday. The applicant notes that drop-off and pickup of children will be within the existing carport and driveway. As noted previously, there is a 1-car wide driveway from Sunnydale Drive. The driveway widens to a 2-car wide carport. The applicant's site plan also notes that there will be parking on the grass on the south side of the driveway. Staff is not supportive of the proposed parking plan. Staff does not believe that the parking plan represents a safe plan for the drop-off and pickup of children and for the parking of employees. Staff is not supportive of the requested conditional use permit to allow a 24-hour daycare use. Staff does not believe this is an appropriate location for a 24-hour non-residential use. Single-family residences on R2 zone property are located to the south and west, also across Mapleville Pike to the north and Sunnydale Drive to the east. Staff also has concerns with the proposed daycare using the side street, which is Sunnydale Drive, for access. And staff also believes that the proposed parking plan is insufficient. Therefore, staff recommends denial of the requested CUP.
Thank you. Applicant, please state your name for the record.
Brad Stewart.
All right, so you do not have any cards in opposition, but you do have 2 in support. So at this particular time, if you like, you can state your case, or if you like your support team to come up and make a statement, you can. The floor is yours.
Okay. Well, first of all, it seems like the staff is more concerned with the parking, but myself, the owner is here of the residence. We have already spoke about the parking, extending the driveway out to open up the parking a little bit more, or the drop-off. And the drop-off is in a safe location behind the house in the patio area, as you see in the picture here, what the surveyor did. But as far as the 24-hour, this is essential for the workers and really everybody that's working outside the conventional schedule of 9 to 5. The city doesn't stop at 5. We have a lot of people that needs that daycare or needs that someone to keep their child after that hour when they go to work. We have people that take care of us while we're sleeping, the police officers, MEMS, doctors, lawyers, bails bum, and Walmart workers. It doesn't matter who it is, just anybody who's outside of that 9 to 5 regular schedule. So this daycare is something new. It's the start of a new beginning, and it'll bring a lot of safety and security to the neighborhood. Not saying it is a bad neighborhood. I've spoke directly to my neighbors that's across the street and behind. They're very excited about it. Like I said, they want it there for the safety and security as far as that night shift. We have an off-duty police officer working that shift. Being in law enforcement for several years, there are a lot of workers, police officers that needs daycare. They call in to work, they don't go to work, or they're bitter about their shift because they have to work day shift because they don't have anyone to keep their child at night. And that's how this daycare came about as far as the 24-hour.
All right. Okay. So at this particular time, if you don't have any other statements on your case here, I will bring up a couple of people in support of your item here. And we have Barbara. Is it Barbara Ireland? If you're present, please come to the podium.
Good evening. My name is Barbara Ireland. I am the owner of the property. And as he was saying, I can recall when my husband and I worked, we had to split our life. I worked daytime, he worked nights, so someone could be at home with our children. What he's saying is that with this daycare in the center area, parents have somewhere to drop their children off after hours. And it's a safe location, and it'll be secure. And like he says, I talked to my neighbors, they're in support of it, and we're gonna increase the driveway. We're going to add gravel there for people to have somewhere to park. It's enough land there to hold about 10 cars. Not saying there's going to be that many people there at one time, but there have plenty of places to park in a safe location. We're on a corner lot, which means we can, it's not into the neighborhood, it's close to the road, which means that if there are any emergencies, they have easy access. And so I think it'll be a good idea. We talked about it, and I just pray that you guys will go along with this idea. Thank you.
Thank you. And the last card is Sharonda Ireland. If you're present, please make your way to the podium. Thank you.
My name is Sharonda Ireland, and I am in agreement with the property being turned into a daycare. There's plenty of daycares in Little Rock, but none that actually supply service overnight. So it would definitely be useful for the community and for the people that protect the community as well. So I wrote something, but I can't understand my handwriting. Let me see here. Also, there is another daycare that's adjacent to the area, as well as a school that's adjacent to the property as well. And with those being there, I definitely feel like this property could also serve as a daycare as well to the community. I already said that, but that's the location right there. And it's enough space for everything. There's a school bus that drives that stops right there in front of the house. So I don't think that it would be a bad location at all for parking. As he said, it can be expanded. Yeah, I think that's it. I can't read my handwriting, so I can't read what I was going to say.
No problem. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And can we bring the applicant back up here, please?
Yes, sir.
All right, and I'm about to open it up to the commissioners. They may have some questions or comments. I have one in particular. You stated that there will be an increase in the gravel area for parking. What are those measurements, and did you turn those in to staff?
No, sir, I did not.
Okay,
I
so
just know-
what are those measurements? Are you saying that you're going to increase the driveway
Yeah,
area?
we're just gonna extend the driveway back out where the grassy area is and make it easier for the parents to pull in like a circle, drop off, and then they can just pull right back out on Sunnydale. Sunnydale's not a busy street, so it's not impeding traffic or anything like that, but it's just that all of that is the yard. And so we're just gonna extend the driveway. I did not get the measurements.
Okay, I'm going to open it at this time, open it up for the commissioners. Before I do, Monte, you had a statement?
With respect to your question, a conditional use permit is use and site plan specific. The site plan that you saw on the screen is what's been submitted, has been submitted by the applicant. If the applicant wishes to amend that, they're going to need to submit a new site plan to staff. The deferral may be appropriate to allow.
So the applicant can defer at this particular time. Just want to make that, I say the attorney, he
That's
can
correct.
defer at this time and then come back next month to submit the proper plans to staff so they can,
That's correct, because in the past, we've allowed people to amend so we can move development along. But one of the recent litigation cases that we've had is they've challenged that. So going forward, if they're going to amend their application, we're going to require them to defer and submit their entire plan so that the commission has it to be reviewed.
all right, sir, and we do have one question in particular, but I mean, if you do have a choice today, if you want to defer, to amend and defer to next month meeting, that can be your choice. But before you make an answer on that, I have Commissioner Hodges want to ask a question here.
I do. What age children, are you going to have outdoor playgrounds that are?
Yes, it'll be 6 weeks to.
I don't see any of that on the plan, so.
But the playground?
Yeah.
Yeah, so with the conditional use permit, I needed to make sure I had an approval before I actually put the money into building a playground and extension and putting the fence up and everything like that, because it is a residence home.
Okay, thank you.
All right, do we have any other questions? Commissioner Brown, go ahead.
Question for staff, and full disclosure, I literally lived across the street from this place and 3 doors up during college, so I know the neighborhood very well, and you're right. Sunnydale is an extremely quiet street. Is there anything that staff has a concern about besides parking? Because what I'm hearing is this is a good thing to do, it's an appropriate location, but the parking is the concern that staff has. Is there anything else that staff was concerned about that I didn't, that's all I thought I heard was the.
Commissioner Brown, not only the parking, but we feel that this is the entryway into a residential neighborhood, and having a 24-hour-a-day daycare seems to be extremely intensive, even with the parking plan that was just described. I mean, you have to look, and we showed the Google Street View. Imagine 24 hours a day, if you're the neighbor that lives right there, you're going to have cars possibly at night coming in and out of that. And so we just felt the intensity of a 24-hour use at the start of a neighborhood was something that we couldn't support.
All right, at this particular time, commissioners, do you have any other questions or comments for the applicant? And I want to turn it over to the applicant at this particular time. I mean, obviously, we can't vote on it. You still have the ball in your court. If you would like to amend it, defer it, and come back the next month, of course, that would be totally up on your own, expense. So at this particular time.
I just wanted to be, respond to his, the 24-hour, there's a time period that you can drop off and pick up. So it's only about 15 to 20 minutes that cars will come in the area during the 8-hour shift. So it's not like just a rotation thing all day long going on for 24 hours. It's only about 20 to 30 minute window that you would hear a car pull up, any other traffic that passes by. It'd be just as normal as that. Also, I got a question. So if I go with the admin? What am I doing? Just getting another surveyor, doing the parking, or?
If you're going to do the amendment, the commission had, you indicated you wanted to put in playground equipment, you wanted to extend the driveway, all those things. You don't have to pay for them now. You can, but you're going to have to put them on the site plan so that this commission has everything that they need before them to make an informed decision. Because right now, the things that you were describing aren't on the site plan, so they really can't vote on it. And we can't let you amend at the podium because you're amending your application and it's not going to get on the site plan. And so what you would have to do is make all those changes that they talked about, put it on a site plan and resubmit it. Doesn't mean you have to pay for it, but you have to indicate those things on the site plan so that they can have it to review, if that makes sense.
Yes, the site plan here is what you're talking about?
The one that you have there.
Yes, so there is the playground area right behind the house that's on the site plan. And then the parking is on the site plan as well.
You had mentioned that there would be a turnaround.
Yes, we're going to implement that, yes, sir.
So that's mainly what we would need to see.
Okay.
Plan to get cars in and out.
Okay.
Yeah, we just need an amended site plan. And that's because currently they're voting on the one that's right there.
Gotcha.
And that does not show what you have, or doesn't reflect what you have stated.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
Sorry, I was just going to add, though, there's re-notification if you defer, right? Can you
Yes.
walk the applicant through that?
Yes, there is re-notification, but you do not have to send those certified mail. You can send that regular mail.
So the letters that I sent out?
Send it out to the same list, but you don't have to send certified. You can send them regular mail.
Okay.
And the good thing about this, I think, you don't have any opposition from the community or your neighbors. So obviously you said there's a need and, you have support. I think you're just getting the right information back. And I think the commissioners, they have some obvious questions, maybe some comments, but if there's a need for that and there's no opposition for the community and it will add value and safety and public enhancement, that's all something that we take into account for. So at this particular time, I want to ask you, would you like for us to move forward to vote or would you like to defer until next month?
Okay, so let me get this straight. So if you vote and it's denial, what do I do after that? Do I have to just resubmit everything?
You'd have to appeal to the board.
I'm sorry.
You'd have to appeal to the board of directors.
Okay.
Yeah, yes, sir. Your appeal would be to the board, but if you did not appeal, you would have to wait 1 year to make another application for this. Unless it was substantially different than the original application.
So I can I'll defer to next month and get the site plan?
Yes, you revise your site plan. Make sure you have everything that you have stated to us. You got the proper measurements. You're able to have everything detailed and itemized correctly and properly, and then be put on the next month agenda.
Okay, let's do that.
Mr. Chair, just a quick question. Is there a full-time staff member? Obviously, this full-time staff member can't do the site plan on Mr. Stewart's behalf, but is there someone that he can work with directly so that he can ask questions if necessary?
Brad, can I?
Any applicant can contact staff and we'll work with anyone. Will we be drawing site plans for anyone? That's beyond our scope. But helping applicants through this process is our job. And so the applicant can contact us and we'll help you work through anything.
Okay.
We will not draw this for you though, sorry.
I got you.
All right, thank you. All right, the applicant requested a deferral, so I guess we can get a motion for deferral for the applicant until next month.
To approve the applicant's deferral until the September Planning Commission hearing.
Second.
We have a motion and second. Established Torrance, instead of we doing the roll call, can I get an all in favor for aye on this? Aye. And any nays? Ayes have it. Thank you. Your item has been deferred to next month.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. All right, we're going to move forward to item number 20. Z-5317. Is the applicant present for item number 20? That's item number 20, Z-5317-A, Baseline X Road LLC. All right, the applicant is approaching the podium. Can we please have the reading, please?
Okay, item number 20, file number Z5317A, Baseline X Road LLC PCD, located at 5924 Baseline Road. The applicant proposes to rezone the property from R2 to PCD to recognize the historic and continued use of the property as a convenience store with gas pumps, and also to allow 3 mobile canteen units to be permanently placed on the property. The site contains a 1,500 square foot convenience store building with a canopy fuel island located along Baseline Road and a second canopy fuel island located along Geyer Springs Road. The property is zoned R2 and contains the last remaining non-conforming commercial use at the intersection of Baseline Road and Geyer Springs Road. The area contains a mixture of commercial zoning and uses. The property has access from concrete driveway aprons along Baseline Road and Geyer Springs Road. The applicant is proposing to permanently locate 1 mobile food truck on the north side of the building and 2 additional mobile food trucks on the east side of the building. The applicant is not proposing any changes to the existing building or building footprint of the convenience store at this time. Operating hours for the proposed mobile food trucks will be from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Operating hours for the convenience store will remain as is. The site plan shows a dumpster area located at the northeast corner of the property. The dumpster area must be screened as per section 36.523 of the code. The applicant is requesting no additional signage with this zoning request. Any new signage must comply with section 36.553 of the code. Staff has no issue with the proposed rezoning of the property to recognize the existing non-conforming use of the property as a convenience store with gas pumps. However, staff does not support the proposed permanent location of mobile food trucks on the site. Staff feels that the 0.4 acre site is too tight and does not provide adequate parking or maneuvering area to place and permanently operate 3 mobile food trucks in such a small area. The only available parking is on the adjacent property to the north and east. There is no cross-access easement according to the survey that the applicant submitted. Staff feels the increase in traffic due to several mobile food trucks is in such a small area on the site, and the existing heavy traffic at this major intersection will have an adverse impact on the surrounding properties, and therefore staff recommends denial of the requested PCD zoning.
Thank you. Applicant, please state your name for the record.
Satnarayan Murthy.
All right, okay. And you have actually 1 card in opposition. Would you like to go ahead and make your case now, or would you like to yield your time and let opposition make their statement and come back up?
I'll come back.
Okay, thank you. We just have 1 card here. So you can just step aside or have a seat right here, and then we'll bring you back up here just momentarily, okay? So we have 1 card in opposition for this, and this is Troy Leahy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Troy Leahy, and I'm Vice President of Southwest Little Rock United for Progress. We voted to approve this, and then after the meeting, we got to discussing it, and we'd come back, the executive branch, the executive people did, and those people that voted for it and changed their vote. Because we couldn't tell where the property lines were. We couldn't tell where they planned on putting these 3 food vehicles. And I don't know how much experience you had with the highway department. I worked out there for a few years, then I left and got in the construction business. And they take a dim view of anybody messing with their right of way. And it looks like they may be coming on the right of way for that one of those trucks, especially on Baseline and Geyer Springs Road. And sometimes they're kind of ruthless. They say, we'll come and give you a warning. The next day they'll come and take your vehicle or whatever's there away. And they're not nice about it. And I'd like to see this gentleman have more information. You're talking about showing where these food trucks are going to be on his property and traffic around them and how he's going to handle the cleanup, keep the place looking neat, no sacks, no trash on the ground and stuff like that. And I thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you. All right, if we can bring the applicant back up at this time. All right, and the floor is yours. You feel free to make any comments on any of the concerns the opposition had, and also any other statements you'd like to make for your case. The floor is yours.
It's a 3 trucks, so if you want, means I don't own the trucks, sorry. I don't own the truck, so they're just renting it out. If they want it, I can move 1 or 2. It's like, it's just somebody's renting it from me. I own the gas station only.
All right, at this particular time, I'm going to open the floor up to commissioners for questions and comments. Commissioner, go ahead.
Sir, I believe there may be 1 or 2 trucks at the location to the immediate north of that location. Is that your property or are
Yeah,
those
that's
trucks?
under my property.
Sir,
Yes, sir, that's my property.
the current trucks there now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any other questions or comments from any other commissioners?
I'll make a general comment. I'm very familiar with this intersection, and anybody who's ever been down there, I mean, all 4 corners of Gyers and Baseline is just a sea of empty parking lots. The city is really concerned about parking at this location. That seems kind of silly. Whether or not the parking is on this man's property, I think, is irrelevant. There is parking. As of 2023, according to Google, there were and are 3 trucks on this property. In the middle of the day, there are about 4 cars in the parking lot, none of them actually getting gas. I think the application seems reasonable. It's obviously been operating this way for quite some time. You know, this is how communities are built. Somebody sees a need and they fill it. This guy saw a need, he's filling it for the community, and at least in the last year, it doesn't appear that anybody's complained about it, and there's not even anybody here complaining about it tonight. So, I mean, I, for one, am generally in favor of the application. I think it solves a particular need within the neighborhood and adds value.
Thank you. Any other questions? Commissioner Brown, go ahead.
Just want to verify, like Commissioner Russell said, has there been, you've been operating with food trucks, there are food trucks operating there now, correct?
Yes, sir.
Have there been any complaints registered with the city about his operation to date
No, sir.
that we're aware of?
Off the top of my head, Commissioner, I do not know.
Okay, all right.
All right, if we don't have any other questions or comments, do we have any other questions or comments from the commissioners? I would like to entertain a motion or approval, and we have to make a motion in the affirmative on this one as well.
Make a motion to approve application file number Z5317-A, Baseline X Road LLC at 5924 Baseline Road, with all staff's recommendations and conditions, with the exception of the recommendation for denial.
We have a motion.
Second.
And we have a second. Can we get a roll call vote, please?
Baxter?
Yes.
Russell?
Aye.
Hodges?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
McDonald?
Yes.
Person?
Yes.
Hart?
Yes.
Lunday? Vogel?
Yes.
Samad?
Yes.
Hart? Excuse me, Vickers?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, thank you, sir. Thank you. Coming out, motion passes here. All right, we're going to move to item number 8, and right after item number 8, we will take a short, brief break after this one here, but I think this one is another one on the list that I think we all definitely got to hear, and it was before us last month. So item number 8, the storm water management and drainage manual revisions. And before we kind of go into it fully, you can approach the podium. But Brad, I'm gonna turn it over to you on your comments.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chair. We deferred this last month to give you all ample opportunity to look this over. We sent also some impact studies that were provided to us by HAF, who is a consultant on this. Tonight, staff will request an up or down vote for this. And because we are up against the expiration of our MS4 permit, which expires at the end of the year, this still has to go to the city board for approval, and I'm sure there will be healthy debate there as well. So from you all tonight, staff is requesting an up or down vote.
Thank you. All right. Well, the applicant, you can state your name for the record and kind of move forward from here. And obviously, the commissioners, we would probably have questions and comments.
Yes, I'm Miles Simmons with HAF Associates, and we've been working with the city to put together the revisions to the Little Rock Drainage Manual. Was there any, I guess, cards in opposition?
We actually do not have, I take it back. We actually do. We have two in opposition. Okay. So we do have some in that you can yield your time, and if the opposition, you can come back up after they've made their statements.
Yeah, I will just go ahead and yield my time.
All right, thank you. All right, so we have two cards in opposition on this, and we have, is it Brian Dale, if I'm saying that correctly?
Chairman and Commissioners, I'm Brian Dale with Joe White and Associates. We have several clients that are concerned with the stormwater manual proposal but couldn't attend the meeting tonight and asked that we speak on their behalf. I believe some of our clients may have contacted staff or commissioners directly, either by phone or email, with their concerns. Collectively, a few things that we would like to say to start with. One, we understand the existing stormwater drainage manual is 40 years old and needs to be updated. We understand that. Two, we understand the existing stormwater drainage manual is not in compliance with ADQ water quality standards and needs to be updated by January 1st, 2025. We understand that too. Our clients have three main concerns. From the public meetings we've attended, it appears the proposal exceeds the requirements ADQ is placing on the city of Little Rock for stormwater quality. Why is it more than what's being required? Two, the proposed drainage manual exceeds what is needed for adequate storm drainage in central Arkansas and comparable other municipalities in the region. There are changes being proposed that could have very significant cost implications for development in the city of Little Rock. The consultant has published cost estimates that range from 40 to 60% more than the infrastructure would cost today, and we believe those estimates are low. Mayor Scott has been vocal about providing affordable housing in the city of Little Rock. The storm drainage manual proposal as currently written using the consultant's estimated costs will increase the cost of home in Little Rock between $20,000 and $30,000 per home, and potentially more. We respectfully request more time for the consultant to review and implement comments they have received from the general public. Please consider a vote to defer this item to allow the consultants and community to work together and develop a stormwater manual proposal that everyone can agree upon and vote in. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. The next card we have is it Tim Daters? I'm saying that correctly. Daters, excuse me.
Chairman, Commissioners, staff, my name is Tim Daters, and Brian's a little taller than I am. I'm a consultant engineer with White Daters and Associates. I think the things we agree on, Brian's correct, we need an updated drainage manual. The one that we're using right now is, we got a copy of it on our drafting room table that says 1985. We all agree that flooding and the potential impacts from development can be negative and need to be corrected. And we all agree that water quality in our streams is important and that we want to preserve and maintain water quality. Looking back to when the initial drainage manual was adopted, the Planning Commission had a work session in December of 1983 where the Planning Commission said we should come up with a way to prevent flooding adjacent to neighborhoods that are developing. We had developing neighborhoods that were, after they were developed, were impacting neighborhoods that had just been developed. So the Planning Commission said, let's study this. During the first half of 1984, the engineers at the city worked with the consulting engineering community, and we came up with about 10 or 11 pages of what we wanted to accomplish. And this copy is bad because it's about 40 years old. But we came up with objectives and things that we wanted to accomplish. And we all agreed on that, and there was a consensus on what we should try to do. We looked at what the cost would be and thought we could successfully absorb the cost. Obviously, we did. Then the item moved on to the Planning Commission after about 3 months. Staff prepared the ordinance, moved to the Planning Commission with very little debate. It moved on to the City Board for a public hearing. When it was passed in December of 1984, no one spoke in opposition. There was consensus. The community that was being impacted was in consensus with the people who wanted the benefits. And I think that part of what we did, we had continually asked the city and the consultant to take some recently approved projects, large subdivisions, small subdivisions, commercial developments, large and small, multifamily and office, and apply the new code to those developments and see what the impact was. It's pretty easy to do. They've been working on this for over a year and a half. And we haven't seen that, but we did see the percentages of what we thought they thought the cost increases might be. Well, some items they assigned zero cost increase. They said that changing our method of analysis would not increase the cost. Well, they're proposing that we change for drainage basins that are 40 acres or more to a soil conservation method of design instead of the rational method. The proposed method produces much larger runoff volumes and much larger discharges. It practically quadruples the amount of storage which would be required for a 40-acre development. And I did take a generic residential 40-acre development and looked to see how it impacted the costs. And the costs were significant. Right now, our development costs on lots run from $30,000 to $50,000 per lot. And developers are paying upwards of $100,000 an acre for property to develop. So when you have a proposal which removes the developable property and increases the cost, it comes at you from both directions. The water quality aspect of this proposed draft is also problematic. Right now, our current MS4 permit only requires water quality controls during construction. It does put stipulations on the city in terms of how often they'll sweep the streets. The highway department is a co-permittee with Little Rock. Yes, our permit expires at the end of the year. We don't have a draft permit yet. And so it is going to be a lot of work to get done in the remainder of the year. But right now, we don't have a post-construction water quality permit in our MS4 permit. One of the other problematic things with this ordinance is it requires us to look downstream from our project until the drainage basin is 10 times what our project is. So we just finished working on about a 300-acre project, and that we would have to look downstream until the creek had a drainage basin of 3,000 acres. And that's roughly 5 square miles. And we'd have to look at the culvert crossings, the drains in people's backyards. We had to survey them and get all that studying work done. And it's a tremendous burden to place on the developer. If the city wants to get a good inventory and the capacity of their existing system, we should do that. But it shouldn't be the new home development that bears the cost of it. Again, I would just ask that this be deferred, that we form a real quick work group and see what everybody can live with that meets the goals and objectives of everyone, and come to you with a proposal that everybody supported. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, we can bring the applicant back up at this time. The floor is yours.
As Brad said, the driving factor behind updating this manual is to remain in compliance with our MS4 permit that comes from the state. And so when we were looking through this manual and updating some of the different items, including water quality and detention, we were really looking at what meets the state and federal requirements and other requirements that have come down. For instance, we're requiring as part of the manual a 100-year flow path for all, like overland flow path for development. And that requirement has actually been in place due to a lawsuit from a few years back. And so we're just kind of clarifying some of those things. Our water quality requirements are based on the state requirements of the goal to hit 80% removal of total suspended solids. And then we're using EPA guidance on what those rainfall events you need to treat for to meet that requirement. I mean, both Tim and Brian are correct. This will have an impact on developmental costs. Those are going to vary widely depending on the use of the site and what they can implement into the existing systems that would be required by the current manual. And I guess with that, if I'd be happy to answer any questions from the commission.
All right, thank you. At this time, I'm open the floor up for any questions or comments from any of the commissioners.
Commissioner Vickers, Chair Vickers.
Yes.
Robbie Vogel here.
Commissioner Vogel, go ahead.
This is more for staff's, I guess, question for them. Should the permit not be renewed, what are the implications?
Thank you, Commissioners. This is Chris Smith, the Department of Planning and Development Engineering Division Manager. The potential implications of not being in compliance with the MS4 permit that's going to be coming soon is the State Department of Environmental Quality could potentially induce penalties on the city, especially monetary penalties, and they have the authority to do so. And they can be pretty significant depending on what they decide. And any future litigation after that if they choose to do so. And those are daily fines, by the way.
Commissioner Brown, go ahead.
A follow-up to Commissioner Vogel's question. What you described was the impact to the city. If this does not get approved, the permit, and those things are impacting the city, are there impacts to citizens in terms of things like insurability of houses or cost or rates, or do we have any line of sight into that?
I would defer to the consultant on that. I don't have that information off the top of my head.
So the question is, does the if the permit is not removed or renewed, how does that impact?
How does it impact the citizens? I mean, we heard how it impacts the city, but how does it impact like the people who live in the city individually?
So the MS4 permit is specifically for the city and their ability to discharge stormwater essentially to our natural streams and rivers. So the MS4, renewing the MS4, I don't know if that would directly impact citizens other than, the cost of taxpayer money going to pay fines. There is potential costs to both the public and the city, long term if we don't implement some of these higher standards. There's a bunch of studies out there by FEMA and others that for every dollar you spend in higher standards and building it on the front end compared to you save $4 on flood mitigation post-disaster. And then additionally, when we require these higher standards, if you want to, it should reduce the amount of public expenditure on flood control projects down the line. It's a lot cheaper to, detain for this 100-year now than try to get to that 100-year level of service in an existing environment that's already built out.
All right, Commissioner Hodges, you have a question?
Yes, thank you. Did I understand that you said that the 2 points the opposition raised were already standards adopted by state, federal agencies?
So like the water quality. Yeah, so any construction site, there's a couple of different permits. So there's the general construction permit from ADEQ, and so that's for a specific site, whereas the MS4 is for the city. But under that general construction permit, a construction should be already providing that 80% water quality treatment. And if they're not, they have to justify why the site is not able to actually meet that standard.
Okay, so the standards are already in place that have to be followed, okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. I got a question here, just particularly for staff. So just for concerns for not only citizens, but for business owners and developers here within the city. If we vote on this tonight, if it gets passed, will the business owners and developers still have a voice once it get to the city board for their recommendation and vote? I mean, what I'm saying is that this is not the end all be all here. Would they still have a voice in this process?
Yes, they will certainly still have a voice in this process at the board level. You all give a recommendation to the board, and this would be the recommendation to the board. We'll probably have Mr. Daters and others come back and share their views with the board members, and I'm sure they'll probably already have talked to their board members. And there will be healthy debate, and I'm sure that the board will want to look at it just like you all have and defer it once, maybe even twice. So that's why there's a short time frame in which to get this accomplished. But yes, to answer your question, there will be debate at the board level.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make sure that not only the citizens, obviously the citizens most importantly, but also the business owners and developers still have a voice and opinion in this, and this is not the end all be all. Thank you. Commissioner Hodges, go ahead.
I guess staff, can the board simply refer it without any sort of recommendation, or the commission refer it without any recommendation to the board?
They certainly can. And we talked about that earlier, that the board could vote to defer, which would act as a denial. The commission could vote to deny, or they could vote to recommend, or if you choose not to vote at all, that's okay too. It's going before the board with whatever recommendation that this commission chooses.
Any other questions or comments from any of the commissioners?
Yes, Chair Vickers, Robbie Vogel.
Okay, I think I had two of them. Commissioner Vogel, go ahead, and then we'll get the vice chair here on the screen.
Okay, I have a couple follow-up questions regarding the fines that could be implemented, and also, is there a grace period where we could operate without the permits necessary, but be, allowed by the state to be working on this very technical issue? So I guess my first question is, can the staff quantify what our fines would be? And then is there a process by which we could, apply to the state, but still have time to review with the professionals?
In regards to the fines, I don't know if that's published data, if there's any really, unless it's occurred before, I don't know if we really would know what those fines would look like. And then the city of Little Rock is the only large MS4 in the state, so that's also going to vary compared to how they would treat other cities. And then in regards to the timeline, we're actually helping the city of Mayflower just this last month update their MS4. And essentially, you're actually supposed to apply 30 days prior to the end of the permit. And if you don't apply by the end of the permit, then you're out of compliance and they could start daily fines. So we had to make sure everything was turned in on July 31st to the state.
So we don't know the cost of the fines, and there's not a process to appeal to say we are working on this very technical problem, but yet y'all are asking us to recommend something that is very difficult and could cost a great deal more for development. At this time, I would say I'm not qualified enough to, make the decision on should we recommend this to our board, even though we are a recommendation body. I just feel very concerned about this process being rushed, and I apologize for that.
We're going to go here, then you, Commissioner.
So I have a couple of substantive questions. The recommendations that are being made by HAF, are they addressing the minimum requirements that AEDQ and the state is requiring? Or have you gone above and beyond? And if the latter, why?
So I guess the thing is with the permit, it is a little vague on the water quality. So that's why we're basing our recommendations off of the minimum required in the general permit, and then also looking what the EPA is requiring kind of nationwide. And then we're just trying to meet those essentially minimum requirements for water quality.
Are we legally bound by the EPA's minimum requirements?
So essentially what it boils down to is that we're pretty confident that our permit requires us to treat 80% of remove 80% of the total suspended solids from our stormwater runoff.
Which is already required for construction activities.
Yes, as the permit is written.
This new ordinance would require that continuously post-construction.
Correct.
Why?
To meet the requirements of the MS4.
So that is a minimum requirement that's currently in place that we do not comply with?
I guess the thing is that those general permits, that is for a specific project. And our MS4 permit currently says we have to reduce pollutants to the maximum extent practical. And that means we have to have that in place by the end of the permit. So the way the MS4 permit is a little strange, where you get your permit and then you have to implement everything in there by the end of the permit period. So that's why we're implementing this water quality as part of before the end of the permit period.
Let me ask the question a different way. If I purchase a property and build a house, during construction, I'm already required to make sure that 80% of suspended solids do not make their way into the storm system. Correct?
Correct. So I think...
Hold on, I'm not done.
Go ahead.
Under this new ordinance, not only would I have to do that during construction, but for the lifetime of that property, I have to make sure, and I assume there's going to be some mechanism to make sure that I do this. I'm going to have to maintain that 80% of suspended solids do not make it into the storm system. I, the property owner.
Yeah, so currently the way that that general permit is written, that actually is under the post-construction section to meet that 80% removal, unless there is, unless you can prove that there's some other reason that you can't meet that standard. But yes, so in the manual, we have requirements for there to be a maintenance entity to maintain both their detention and stormwater quality structures throughout the life of the property.
Is there a limit to the project type?
Essentially, it'd just be based on the limits of when would you need a permit. So that's for properties under an acre, and then there's a few other exemptions as well.
So any property under an acre, but every property over an acre?
Yeah, if it's part of a larger development, or, yeah, correct.
So to keep the math simple, if I'm buying a 1.01 acre lot, I now have to provide increased detention, so the size of my developed area just decreased by some of these numbers, maybe up to 30%. So you've just taken a third of an acre just for detention. During construction, I have to maintain the entire site to ensure that 80% of suspended solids don't make it into the storm sewer. And then afterwards, I have to continue to maintain that same 80% reduction on a lot that costs more, that I can't develop as much of, and so arguably cannot make as much profit off of that lot. So costs more to purchase, costs more to buy, costs more to maintain, and I have less square footage to work with. Is there any way to think about this in terms of doing less while still providing for increased water quality and some of the other mandatory things that we know need to be done, and strip out some of the things that are not required so that we are not negatively impacting development in our city to the degree that I'm looking at on my screen? Because, I mean, some of these, the engineering costs are projected to go up as much as 30%. Now, I'm an architect. I would love to make 30% more. But if I'm charging my clients 30% more, but the total number of clients that I get is reduced by 60%, I've got a net loss in my firm, which means I'm going to start laying people off. That doesn't sound like a smart move from an economic standpoint.
Yeah, and one thing with those numbers that we provided, that's really only in regards to the drainage infrastructure itself, which, depending on the site, that might not be a big part of that overall infrastructure cost.
As an architect that worked for developers, I can tell you that they are always looking for ways to reduce their site costs because they are significant.
Yeah, and then the other thing is, there's been a lot of studies that green infrastructure will actually save money on development. A lot of these, water quality measures can be incorporated into existing landscape requirements. So there's a lot of areas where these things can be implemented into things that you would already be doing on the site.
I guess I'll go back to my other question. Is there a conversation to be had to reduce what is currently in your ordinance to strip it back to something that is closer to only the minimum increases that are required by ADEQ, which I think is limited pretty much only to water quality?
Yeah, so I think in regards to the water quality, I don't think you can really strip it back anymore and still meet the
provisions of the ordinance.
Right, and then
no water quality has to be in there. What about everything else?
In regards to some of the other things that we were doing, with detention requiring up to the 100-year event, that really comes back to flood, public safety, downstream impacts, those things that we think that, these things really need to be considered because otherwise you're creating a liability in the future. And essentially with most stormwater, currently we require detention up to the 25-year. Most people, all stormwater is when you're doing flood risk reduction, it's all just based on what level of risk are you comfortable with. And, the standard pretty much nationwide is that 100-year storm or the 1% annual chance. So we, kind of believe that that's kind of the bare minimum for detention, is that you need to be able to provide that level to protect homes and both future and existing development.
So we're wanting to provide detention on a property that's not going to exist
Well, just the future system that, your existing system to be able to allow for that future development.
Commissioner Brown, and then Commissioner Hart.
So just a statement and then a question. I'll be honest, I'm really torn on this one because from technical issues, I have to defer to Commissioner Russell. I would dare say he probably knows more about the technical issues than any voting member of this panel. But as a citizen who lives in a part of town that a couple of years ago, we had to like stack up sandbags because that was flooding. I mean, when I was in West Little Rock, that was literally around the corner from my house, and the creek by my house floods every other week. I don't know if we're in a position to say if this plan is written is right as it stands now. I think it does need some additional work. The question I have is, are we, and this is to staff and I guess the attorney, are we as a commission in a position to say, look, we are going to vote to move this forward to the board, but we're not comfortable saying that we approve it or disapprove it, because quite frankly, with the exception of Commissioner Russell, most of us don't have the expertise here. It's a fairly technical issue, and I think it needs a lot more work to get this figured out.
And I can understand that.
Sorry, Mr. Overton. I wanted to add something too to Commissioner Brown's statement that we're also the first in the state who's being asked to do this.
All right, so we had a comment on, hold on, we're going to go to the city attorney. On this one, you had a question on the floor. Yeah.
Well, I can understand the commissioner's apprehension on voting for something that you haven't had an opportunity to fully understand, you don't necessarily agree with, and you have a lot of opposition to. And I don't want to say that this commission is not important. You're one of the most important commissions in the city of Little Rock. Your recommendations are important. You can imagine the issues that you're having to make a vote, so you can imagine what our board of directors are going to be experiencing, because they're going to have to make a legislative decision. So the decision has been made by the executive staff, and it's not because they don't appreciate your input, that you're professionals, you're on this commission, you're needed, but the decision has been made that we cannot defer, because the board needs to have time to consider as well. We're on a deadline. All these things that you're talking about, what I've recommended to Chairman Vickers is that each commissioner, if they choose, can submit their recommendations, their oppositions, their concerns, submit that to Chairman Vickers or to Bradley, and we will submit that to the board as well. All the people that have appeared here today will be appearing at the board. And it gives the board time, because this is serious and it is important. And we want the board to have the most amount of time that they can possibly have to make an informed decision. So whatever decision you make in regards to your vote, whether it be you need to defer or you don't feel comfortable or you think it should be denied, please vote that way. And I don't say this to be harsh, but whatever that vote is, it's going before the board because they want to have time to consider what you're considering. And so that's kind of where we're at. Now, in part of the other question that one of the commissioners had, I'll let Bradley respond to.
Sure. Commissioner Vogel, you mentioned we're the first ones to do it. Could you explain that a little bit better?
Well, I thought the gentleman who was representing the firm that's helping advise said we were the only city that has an MS4 permit in the state of Arkansas. Was that incorrect, what I heard?
That is incorrect. Every municipality has to have an MS4 permit.
City of this size.
Okay.
We're the largest.
Yeah, we're the largest MS4 in the state.
The largest MS4 to be asked to submit for a, new permit, and it seems like the largest in the state should have a little bit of grace to, get the problem solved the best of our ability. I mean, I'm concerned about this, but I understand Mr. Overton's statements and I understand the time. So I wish we could quantify the cost of the fine before this meeting, but apparently we can't. So I would vote for no recommendation from our board at this time, but I'll leave it to our other commissioners to make a motion. Thank you.
Mr. Vickers.
All right. And Commissioner Hart, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't think this boils down to a either or. Either we pass this or send it on to the board with a positive recommendation, or we start getting fines from the state. I think there's a way to dial back what is in the document now. And I'm not really worried about the fine process at this point. I do think it's interesting that Mr. Dale started his discussion off with two comments. One, it exceeds ADEQ, and the other, it exceeds other municipalities. I think it exceeds other municipalities that immediately surround us. And those are the ones, guys, that the city of Little Rock has to be worried about, because those are our competitors when it comes to development in this region. Okay, so if North Little Rock, if we are about to adopt something much more stringent and much more strict than North Little Rock, we will continue to see development and developers go to that market and shy away from this market. I would recommend that, guys, we vote on it, because, and just, I'm going to vote no, because I think it is, I think it will be harmful to the development environment here in the city. And I understand water quality. I understand we have difficult terrain in our city and that we experience flooding at times. All cities do. But I guess 30 years of watching this community struggle with growth, struggle with development, especially inside the city limits of Little Rock, I don't want one more thing that causes a prospective development to say, you know what, I think I'll just, I'll either pass on this or I'll go to an adjacent community and develop. It's happened way, way, way too much. And so I think this document can be dialed back. I think we ought to use the term minimum requirements. Like Mr. Russell said a few minutes ago, I think we ought to start there. And like I say, this may just be a small obstacle for developers. The cost may be relatively insignificant, but when you add it up, you add it to all the other things that developers in this community face. And when you look at the development or the lack thereof that Little Rock has experienced over the years in favor of other communities, I don't want another obstacle for money flowing into our community. So, Mr. Chairman, my recommendation would be that we do take a vote, and if we vote it down like our council said, it's going to the board anyway. That's the forum, really, where this will be heard and decided upon. But I think if we feel like it's not good for the city, I think we make the statement as a commission that we didn't like the way this was put together, and we don't like the cost burden it imposes on development. And city board, you got it, but your planning commission voted on it, and here's the way the vote went. I think we owe them a vote. So anyway, that's my 2 cents.
Thank you for your comment. I have two commissioners. First, we're going to do Commissioner Brown. Steve, we're going to get you right after next, okay?
I'm going to be contrarian to something Commissioner Hart says. I agree that, we want to be careful about development, but I think this needs to be decided at the board. I think we move it through. I do think, though, there's several folks who spoke tonight and spoke on this commission that I wouldn't say get with the board, because, the technical issues here do need to be worked out, but I think the ideal behind it, because, again, I've literally a couple of years ago had to stack sandbags in front of a neighbor's house. So I do think there are parts of the city where this needs to be considered. Maybe that's unique, maybe it's not, I don't know, but I do think we need to update our materials, but I don't think that we need to let this be the final one, but we should go forward as is to the board.
Thank you. All right.
I'm just echoing what Commissioner Brown said. I'm conflicted as well. I understand the cost aspects, but one of the duties that we're charged with is the health, safety, and welfare. And I sit here struggling to put a cost on the citizens of Little Rock when it comes to health, safety, and welfare. So for that reason, we'll be voting yes on this one.
I'll just very quickly say one last thing. I do not have a, well-versed grasp in the technical aspects of this ordinance, but a number of local engineers have contacted me directly, and I know they've contacted other commissioners here. These are men that I've worked with for ever since I've been in Little Rock. These are professionals that I trust. You know, their goal is not to, you know, scrimp and save every penny for their clients so that they can get more clients and make more money. These are people that are dedicated to this city, and they are telling me that this is a bad idea. It does not need to go this far. It is not required as it's presented, and hopefully this commission will vote it down. That recommendation will go to the board, and much more in-depth and technical conversations can be had, just like Mr. Dater said, so that we can come to a consensus, something that balances health, safety, and welfare with the development needs of our community so that we can continue to prosper.
Thank you. All right, Chair, I have two quick questions.
Go ahead, Commissioner Baxter.
Mr. Sims, Mr. Daters, probably for either of you, but have you all met Mr. Daters? I know you mentioned that this has been something that you've been aware of for quite some time. I'm just curious what the process of collaboration, because I think if we're at this stage, I'm just curious why we haven't reached consensus between Mr. Daters. I know you only from here, but you know, I respect your work. So I'm just curious what that has looked like.
It did not look like it did in 1980s. We've got a new world today. We've got internet. We've got polls that you take online. We had a process of community outreach. We had meetings where we were presented with the manual. We did surveys in terms of what we thought was important. But we never really sat down and spent a whole afternoon working together, working these things out. We had the last participation meeting was after the date of the draft that you're looking at. So we had a meeting, everybody came out and we told them our concerns, and they didn't change anything in the draft. We did suggest some things which would save money, and those aren't in there either. So I think that this is going to be decided by the board of directors. They're going to amend an ordinance. I think everybody agrees on the goals. You know, we're in a process of renewing our MS4 permit. We do have a large city permits because of our population. And so we'll have a new permit in place in December of 2024. I think Miles just mentioned that we've got the course of that permit to implement the standards in that permit. Because right now our existing permit does not address at all post-construction water quality. It addresses water quality during construction. We're a party in that permit with RDOT. RDOT's not real interested or keen on looking at post-construction water quality either. And so we'll have a period of time where we can negotiate with the Arkansas Department of Energy and Environment and come up with our new permit. Right now, I asked John Honeywell if we had a draft of the proposed permit that's supposed to be in place in December. And John said, no, we've not received a draft permit yet from the Arkansas Department of Energy and the Environment. So my suggestion would be to get with them, start working on our permit and find out exactly what it's going to require at the end of the year. And if we've got 4 years to implement it, then we've got 4 years to implement water quality. And again, we don't typically deal with MS4 permit. We deal with the ordinances that are part of the development within the city. But I think that we are ultimately, Little Rock's got an area of 111 square miles. So we're getting runoff and silt and everything from 110 square miles. And we only develop probably, how many square miles a year? Not many, maybe half a square mile. And so we're not doubling in size like Fayetteville is or like Rogers is. It's important that they enact these measures now because they're going to double in size in 10 or 15 years. We are not going to be 200 square miles in 10 or 15 years. We can propose alternatives to Arkansas Department of Energy and Environment to this on new sites. We can say, let's look at some existing sites which are terrible polluters, and let's spend our money there. I can remember at our last meeting, I noticed that street sweeping was a part of our permit. And I asked our planning director how many street sweepers we actually have in Little Rock, because I never see one. And his comment back to me was, you mean working ones or ones that we have, period? And part of our permit is that I think that we sweep all the streets in downtown on some cycle. I live downtown and I've never seen a street sweeper go by my condominium building. I see about 3 or 4 inches of dust and dirt in the gutter. And I know that if we don't sweep that up, it's going to end up in the river. So I think there's all sorts of other things we could do to improve water quality and make some improvements short of implementing this. And thank you for considering it.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Sims, one last question of you. In terms, and that is your last name, right?
Simmons.
Sims, good. Okay. In terms of existing parcels, and I'm thinking downtown, thinking lots of parking lots, which hopefully one day will be infilled. How does this affect existing parcels? Is it the 1 acre limit above or below?
If I might address a couple of the things that Mr. Daters was talking
Please.
about. Yeah, so he was correct. We had multiple public meetings. We had some online surveys, and we had a website that we continually updated with information on the draft manuals to gather feedback. We worked closely with the city to try to get the word out about the manual itself. And we didn't receive a ton of comments. I did have, email exchanges with Mr. Daters and a couple other engineers. And we did take into account a couple of their recommendations. We changed some wording on some requirements regarding the downstream analysis. We put in an exception for the downstream analysis that would only apply to sites over 20 acres. And then we also reduced the design storm event for your stormwater system, so like your inlets, down to a 25-year, where we were proposing, depending on the classification of the street, up to the 100-year. But talking with them and talking with Public Works, we ended up dropping that back down to the 25-year, which is our current standard. But in regards to existing development, this won't affect existing development until it's redeveloped. So if you were redeveloping a site that is 100% impervious right now, all parking lot, and you go in there and redevelopment and you reduce the imperviousness, you aren't going to have to meet some of those detention requirements because you're actually reducing the runoff from that site just by, adding more green space. But yeah, so for existing structures, this isn't going to affect them until it goes to be redeveloped.
All right, Commissioner, just go ahead. You had a question.
I don't know that I have a question, but I know I got the emails about the public meetings that were being held on this. I get them all. I get them for the tax increase. I get them for the downtown redevelopment plan. I get them all. So there were opportunities for people to discuss this in public meeting and talk, make suggestions, recommendations, correct?
Correct. Yeah, we had a stakeholder list of over 250 people or organizations. That included engineers, architects, HOAs, community groups, and government officials.
All right, any other comments or questions from any of the commissioners? And I know this has been a difficult action item here, and we both have both ways, looking at the safety and the well-being and looking at the citizens, the incurring costs and business developers and business owners. But with that being said, we're going to have to make a vote, and so whichever way we have it, we just want to make sure we do it in all, in the right way and ethical, and looking out for the best interests of the city. Does any of the commissioners have any other comments or questions for the applicant or any in opposition? And if not, I'll let it entertain a motion.
Make a motion to recommend approval of the stormwater management plan to be sent to the board of directors for further discussion.
Second.
I have a motion and second on the table. Can we please get a roll call for a vote, please?
Brown?
Yes.
Hart? No. Hodges?
Yes.
Lunday? McDonald?
No.
Person?
Yes.
Samad?
No.
Vogel,
No.
Baxter? No. Russell,
Nay.
Vickers?
Yes.
Motion fails.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
And at this particular time here, we are going to have a short break, and we'll come back here in 7 minutes. So take a quick break if you need to, and then we still have items number 10, 12, 13, and 23. So please feel free to take a quick break, and we will be back in 7 minutes. Thank you. we're going to get everything started back up. I'm going to call the meeting back to order.
I've been in Spain, bro.
And we're going to start with item number 10. That's item number 10, S-1428-G. Is the applicant present?
Brian Dale is the applicant. He is here.
Okay. All right. All right. You can go ahead and provide the reading.
Okay, item number 10, file number S-1428G. This is the Water's Edge Phase 3 preliminary plat located north of Shady Brook Drive. The applicant proposes to subdivide 38.32 acres of property into 149 lots for single-family development. The subdivision will include phases 1 through 3. That would be 1 through 3 of the Water's Edge Phase 3 residential development. Phase 1 will be lots 301 through 311 and 395 through 449. Phase 2 would be lots 312 through 319, 379 through 394, and Phase 3 would be lots 330 through 378. The average lot size will be 50 feet by 120 feet or 6,000 square feet. Shady Brook Drive will be extended and will tie into White Oak Trails with a Phase 1. And there will be a future secondary access from Sunshine Drive to White Oak Trails in Phase 3. Section 232E of the city's subdivision ordinance require minimum lot widths of 75 feet for corner lots in R2 zoning. The applicant is requesting a variance from this ordinance standard to allow 70-foot wide corner lots within the subdivision. Staff supports that request. To staff's knowledge, there are no outstanding issues associated with the proposed preliminary plat. Staff is supportive of the plat. Single-family subdivision should have no adverse impact on the surrounding properties. Staff recommends approval of the requested preliminary plat subject to compliance with the comments and conditions outlined in paragraphs D and E and the staff analysis of the agenda staff report.
Thank you. If the applicant can approach the podium.
Chairman, Commissioners, Brian Dale with Joe White and Associates representing the application. We understand a card was filed against this application. We would like to reserve our time and speak after the opposition, please.
Thank you. So there is one card, and I presume it's in opposition, but it was not checked. You have Dr. Kenneth Jones.
Good afternoon, late afternoon. My name is Dr. Kenneth Jones, and I'm the president of the Water's Edge Neighborhood Association. Upon receiving this notice, we called a meeting, and it's consensus that we'd first like to make it known that our first desire is that this land projected to be developed remains as is. Not only is the area aesthetically beautiful, but it is enjoyed by many Water's Edge neighbors, especially those whose homes were built around the pond. And across from that pond is where this development is projected to be built. The proposed land development will not only eliminate forestry, but that land is also home to deer, owls, and other indigenous species. As a statement, well, first we would like to preserve that the tree line and some of that forestry. As a statement, why as a human species do we always seek to destroy forest and wildlife for the sake of financial profit and not enjoy the aesthetic beauty that God has placed on this earth? Given that, if the development goes forward, we're wondering if the developer is planning to have a property owners association where dues are required so that the properties are maintained. We would like the acreage between this development and the current Water's Edge neighborhood to be maintained or increased to preserve as much of the natural beauty as possible and preserve as many lives as possible of the animal species living there. We'd also, if it goes forward, like a barrier constructed between the land development and the property belonging to Water's Edge to prevent access to the properties by residents living in the developed area. Now understand, if you look at that, there is a pond there, and the residents who pay dues and who live there enjoy, and that's a stocked pond, and we enjoy fishing, and it's mostly catch and release, but we don't want, 149 other homes around that pond would destroy that. Now, we're not trying to be isolationists, but we do want to preserve our pond and the bit of fishing that we do there. And now that you know that, that's not an invitation for you to come fish, okay? Now, all right. But yeah, that barrier, so people can't just walk through and do what people normally do. We would like to ensure that there's no through traffic running between the two neighborhoods. We have a number of small children that live in the current Water's Edge neighborhood. This development, putting 149 homes on 38.32 acres, it seems that these are going, I don't have the exact plat, but those seem to be quite small homes. If this is going to be built, we would like for those homes to minimally comply with our covenants and restrictions and with our bylaws, especially if someone is calling it Water's Edge. We have a homeowners association. Are the developers planning or asking us to assume or subsume these homes into our current homeowners association? Are they planning to have one of their own? So these are some of the concerns of the 63 homeowners that live in the current Water's Edge neighborhood. Now, I mentioned the number 63 because if you think about it, 149 homes is more than twice what we already have, and it will wrap around that. Again, we're not saying we want to be isolationists, but we do want to maintain the aesthetic beauty, the safety in terms of traffic, and the enjoyment that we have around our little pond, including where we have picnics and our National Night Out. Again, my name is Dr. Kenneth Jones. I'm the president of the Water's Edge Neighborhood Association, and these are some of the concerns that we have related to that proposed development. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. All right, if we can get the applicant back up to the podium.
Yes, sir. He brought up some excellent points, and I have answers to some of them, but not all of them. But I can get with the developer, and I'm not sure that the Planning Commission will need to be involved with some of them, because I know in the past, private restrictive covenants are not supposed to be considered. So will they have a POA? Yes, they will have a POA. Will they adhere and join with the existing POA? I don't know. I need to ask the developer about that. Will there be any barrier fences? I'm sure that with the construction of the homes, some of the homes will have fences in the backyard, some of them may not. I don't know that that's something the developer's willing to guarantee or promise, because he doesn't know what each homeowner will want to do. Right now, Shady Brook Drive extends up and touches this property, and I believe it was the intent of the previous developer to extend the development and go into this property. I also know that per city code, or maybe it's fire code, we have to have 2 points of ingress and egress to meet code because we have more than 30 dwelling units. So the main one will be White Oak Trails to the north, which ties into South Shackelford Road. But the secondary one, or the back one, I'm going to call it, it will be to tie into Shady Brook Drive. I don't believe that there will be much cut-through traffic because I see most of it going east to South Shackelford and then going up north. But I guess there is the possibility if somebody's going southbound, they would go through the existing neighborhood. As for this developer complying with the existing restrictive covenants, we can talk to them about that, but I can't guarantee that. And maybe what I need to do is get your contact info and get a copy of those existing restrictive covenants and give them to the developer to see if he will adhere to those. But I can't promise that, but I also know that's another private agreement, which I believe your city attorney is going to tell you you should not consider. I'd be glad to answer any other questions or any other items that the commission may have.
Thank you. At this particular time, I'll open the floor up for any of the commissioners for any questions or comments.
Say it's a residential development that meets the ordinance. There's not really a whole lot that we can.
Yeah. All right. If not any other questions or comments, I would like to entertain a motion for this item.
Make a motion to approve application S1428-G, Water's Edge Phase 3, as submitted with all staff's recommendations.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Can I get a roll call vote, please?
McDonald? Commissioner
Yes.
McDonald? Commissioner McDonald, can I get your vote, please? It's inaudible to me.
Yes.
Thank you. Person?
Yes.
Russell?
Aye.
Brown?
Yes.
Hodges?
Yes.
Lunday? Samad?
Yes.
Hart?
Yes.
Vogel?
No.
Vickers?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you very
Excuse me.
much.
Thank you.
All right. So we're going to move right along.
Excuse me. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Commissioner Baxter, let me get your vote, please.
Sure. Reluctant, yes.
Thank you.
Was it
I apologize.
Dr. Johnson, was that you, sir? Last name? Dr. Jones, I appreciate your comments. I agree, but it is what it is, unfortunately. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner. All right. So we're going to move right along here to item number 12, Z-6426-C. Is the applicant present? All right. If the applicant is present, please make your way to the podium and we will have the reading.
Item number 12, file number Z6426C. This is the Loveless Group Home, special use permit, 1219 South Tyler Street. The applicant is requesting a special use permit to allow a group home facility to be operated as an existing single-family residence on R3 zone property. The proposed group home will have a maximum of 4 disabled residents at any given time. There'll be 1 staff person. The site is located in the Canis subdivision and contains a 1,620 square foot, 1-story. Our staff report says duplex structure. It used to be a duplex structure. It's been converted to a single-family structure. Surrounding the application, the area is fully developed as single-family subdivision. The total square footage for each bedroom is approximately 100 square feet with 1 resident per bedroom. The property has enough space at the rear of the building for the parking of 8 vehicles. None of the residents will have their own vehicles according to the applicant, and transportation will be provided to the residents. Sections 8-406A and 8-406B of the city's Code of Ordinances sets the minimum square footage for a structure per resident and bedroom occupancy per resident, and this application does conform to that. To staff's knowledge, there are no similar living facilities within a 1,500-foot radius of the site. Staff recommends approval of the special use permit request subject to compliance with the comments and conditions noted in paragraph E and the staff analysis of the agenda staff report.
Thank you. Applicant, can you please state your name for the record, and I'm going to come to you, Sean.
Yes, my name is Herschel Lovelace.
All right. Give me 1 second slowly. Go ahead.
Chairman Vickers, just quick reminder to the commission, to the applicant, and I don't know if you have any opposition. We cannot discuss disability. Please do not discuss anyone's disability. This is 3 people, so there is an automatic, it's 4. And under 36-2, we consider a family of 4 unrelated people. And then we specifically go further on to say the definition of family is established for the purpose of preserving the character of a residential neighborhood by controlling population, density, noise, disturbance, and traffic congestion shall not be applied so as to prevent the city from making reasonable accommodations where the city determines it is necessary to afford people living together in a household equal access to housing pursuant to the Fair Housing Act. And the city attorney is going to be talking to Bradley. There's been a lot of discussion. Anyone that has 4 or under, we are strongly considering not requiring them to even come before this commission, that they're automatically granted a special use permit. That is not in place right now, but it is something being considered because this commission has absolutely no authority under any circumstance to deny 4 people that are disabled to live together in a home. So I want the opposition to understand that. It's not this commission and it's not the board of directors. They cannot deny this, neither under our codes, ordinances, or federal law, but we allow public comment. But please do not discuss anyone's disability in doing so. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Lovelace, you can make your statements or your case right now, or you can defer your time and come back after any opposition.
I would like to defer.
All right. So we have 3 cards here. The first card we have is Alicia Smith.
Good evening. Hi.
Good afternoon. The floor is yours, madam.
I am Alicia Smith. I'm representing Dr. Joe Hartgrove.
Can you move the microphone down? You can move it down. There you go. So we can hear you.
Hi. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I'm Alicia Smith. I'm representing Dr. Joe Hartgrove, who's the owner of the clinic on the corner of 12th and Tyler, 5315 West 12th Street. And basically, he is here in opposition of this, but we had numerous questions because the letter that we received just said a support group. So our concern was what type of support group it was and what was going on. And I think he's already told us that we can't discuss that. Okay. And our concern was that on numerous occasions, we are having to call law enforcement officers because on the north side of 12th Street, there are numerous support groups there. And every week, we're having to call someone in reference to removal or assistance with them wandering off or just coming into our waiting room and things of that nature, disturbing our patients that are kind of elderly. So we were trying to figure out what was going on, how many residents would be there, if there was parking available, making sure that we were really getting a clear understanding as to what was going on in the community. Also, there were 2 other people that left too that across the street at Discount Trophies. We had the same concerns about what was going on. And I spoke with, oh, you're here, okay. I actually spoke with her as we were coming in and she gave me a description as to what was going on and how many residents would be in the building. So I think that would appease us and answer our questions as to what we had.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Jason Mayfield. All right. And we have Gunnar Paul. You're not mandated to speak. It's not a mandate, but if you like to speak.
No, I think I need to, like the doctor, Discount Trophies across right there on 12th Street. Numerous homeless people. We come to work and people are sleeping in our bushes. Walgreens shut down, AutoZone shut down, or Auto Plus, whatever it was. Church's Chicken shut down. Homeless people are piling up. We've all worked together. Even the gas station across the street has run off the less fortunate people. And we're trying to clean the corner up. And it's working so far. I don't think we need, I know everybody needs a chance, but right there, I don't think is where it needs to be. My aunt lives behind the shop, right there across the street from where it's going to go. Elderly white woman, or elderly woman, I'm sorry. I don't think the neighborhood needs it. We've got the cleaners. We've got Joe's Junk over there. He has 2 or 3 houses. And we've tried to keep the neighborhood clean. And I've even talked to a gentleman that would live across the street from the property. He came over to see if we'd rent a space out of our shop for a barber shop for him. He's trying to make him a new barber shop. So everybody's picking the community up. And I don't think something like that would pick the community up. And that's all I got to say, yes.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, if we can bring the applicant back up. All right.
Good evening.
They made several different comments to you on your item here, and the floor is yours. Feel free to make any kind of comments to that. And,
First of all, let me tell you a little bit about me. I'm from Doricala. One of my best friends is Brother Paul. I 8 boys and 2 girls. I went to University of Monticello, at Monticello. Both weevils wobble, but they don't fall down. I worked for Union Pacific Railroad as an electrician. I have pastored 2 churches. I pastored one church in Tucker, and I'm pastored a church right now. I got revival jumping now. So I'm responsible. I just want the ones that is concerned. I want you to know that I'm responsible. I'm a responsible person. I'm a pastor. I got a love for people. And that's all I got to say. Do a good job.
all right, let me open the floor up here to any of the commissioners that have any particular questions for you or any comments for you at that time. So any of the commissioners, you have any questions for the applicant or opposition? All right, if not, I would love to entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve application number Z6426C as submitted with all staff's recommendations.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Can I get a roll call vote, please?
Brown? Brown?
Yes.
Hart?
Yes.
Hodges?
Yes.
Lunday? McDonald?
Yes.
Person?
Yes.
Samad?
Yes.
Vogel?
No.
Baxter?
Abstain.
Russell?
Aye.
Vickers?
No.
Motion passes.
Excuse me. Oh,
Commissioner McDonald, did you have a question?
I wanted to retract my vote.
All right, we have a commissioner that wanted to retract her vote, and
We'll need to expunge the vote.
That is true.
Go.
You would have to expunge the vote and then re-vote.
Okay.
so Commissioner McDonald, did you want to hold your vote, or did you want to retract it?
I did want to retract it.
Okay, so we will have to sponsor this whole motion and then have, yeah. If somebody will make a motion to sponsor this vote, and then we can re-vote, make a motion to approval.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to expunge the vote that was just taken.
We have a second?
Second.
So we have a motion to sponsor this motion and the vote, and obviously we have a motion to re-vote. So can we just get a matter of fact is, since we have an expunged, all in favor, yay?
Aye.
And no?
Be necessary. Roll call vote, please.
Do we, hold on, do we, all in favor, aye?
I think we need a roll call
Roll
vote.
call for that?
Yeah, yes, you do.
All right, let's get a roll call, please.
Brown,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Hodges,
Yes.
Lunday, McDonald,
No.
This is to expunge the vote. Commissioner
I'm
McDonald.
sorry.
Yeah,
I thought
yeah, this is,
Okay,
yeah,
I'm sorry. Yes, yes.
Percy.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you. Samad,
Yes.
Vogel,
Yes.
Baxter,
Yes.
Russell,
No.
Vickers.
yes.
Votes have been expunged.
All right, so we have that motion is
Point
expunged.
of-
on the
Point of
records.
clarification.
I'm sorry, was that Commissioner Vogel?
Yes, Chair Vickers, I have a point of clarification on recusals. Are we not by policy asking to recuse before a vote is taking place?
Huh?
What was that now? Could you repeat that?
Yes. I thought it was our policy that one must recuse themselves before a vote is happening, not during the voting process.
No one has asked to recuse.
I'm not recusing. I was wanting to take my vote.
Yeah, I think there was a commissioner who abstained once the vote started.
No, he abstained from voting. It wasn't a
Right.
recusal.
Yeah, my understanding is the commissioner who abstained from the voting is that abstention is not the preferred method, but if one feels led to do so from conscience and consideration of the topic at hand, one may abstain. Is that correct, Mr. Chair?
Thank you for that
Chair?
clarification.
I would like
Go ahead,
to
Sean,
ask.
go ahead.
Chairman Vickers, I'm concerned. I just, clearly, there is no debate about what is constitutional and lawful. And for this commission to deny people equal housing rights when both the Constitution, the Fair Housing Act, the American Disabilities Act specifically states that we cannot deny housing. Our own code and ordinances say that 4 unrelated people can live in a residence. And for this commission to deny these people housing is unbelievable. And if you continue with the vote no, and we get in a class action lawsuit, you will be called to testify. You will be on record. You have been told that this has to be a yes, and yet you're continuing to vote no. I don't chastise this commission very often, but when you deny people equal housing because of a disability for no reason at all, that is reprehensible. And if I have to resign or I get fired tomorrow, I'm fine with that because this is wrong.
Thank you for your comment.
Understand.
So at this particular time,
Yeah,
we
I would like to state something for the record. Mr. Overton, attorney to attorney, I always appreciate your thoughts on these matters, and I try to keep my law practice out of my job as a planning commissioner. But my understanding was if this should not come before the commission, then it should not come before the commission. So the fact that we're even voting on this, if things are, as Mr. Overton says, is strange, to say the least. Mr. Chair, I would like to ask Mr. Lovelace one question, though, with your permission.
No, go ahead.
Mr. Lovelace, how long has this property been operating as a group home, sir?
This property hadn't ever operated as it was a child care.
Yes, sir.
And then it was a resident, but my, I guess I can't talk about it, but it haven't ever, but I thought, since he said pass, it was passed, and that's the feeling I got, But any other feeling, now I worked on the railroad. Now I feel like I'm finna get railroaded. But when he said pass, I was walking out the door. So, and then to stop and recuse, and no, that's not right. When you said pass, it was over, unless you not going by on your word.
I have a comment. I have a comment from Monty. Go ahead from staff.
Can I follow up on Commissioner Baxter's question about the previous use of the property?
And then we get to Mr. Russell. if you have-
Just for the record, if this helps, the property is located on the outskirts of this single-family neighborhood. It's one lot removed from C3 zone property. And if you notice, the city zoning map has a conditional use permit designation. This property has a long history of being used as a non-residential use. In the past, it's been a daycare center for quite some time prior to Mr. Lovelace's request.
All right, and I would like to make one last comment, again for the record, as a planning commissioner, not a full-time or part-time employee of the city of Little Rock, but in a voluntary capacity. I would greatly appreciate if this ordinance were somehow, some way clarified so that on things that we do not have a choice in, it does not come before the commission for a vote.
That's a procedural matter and
I
will
know,
need to be
and
addressed.
I'm stating it for the record. That's all I
Absolutely,
have to say.
just like the issue of applicants' time being impeded by people in wanting to speak in support. It's a procedural matter that has to be addressed in a different forum.
And we can talk about
Mr.
that
Lovelace, I
once
do
this
want to
meeting is
say
wrapped
to
up.
you personally, not just as a commissioner, but as a citizen, I am sorry that you have to stand here and go through this right now. Thank you. This is not right, as Mr. Overton said, and should not be the process, so I am sorry.
Mr. Chairman, do we need a motion?
Yes. Matter of fact, let's make a motion. I would love to
I'd make a
entertain
motion
one.
that we approve item 12 as submitted with all staff comments and recommendations.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Can I get a roll call vote, please?
Brown,
Yes.
Art,
Yes.
Hodges,
Yes.
Monday, McDonald,
Abstain.
Person,
Yes, again.
Samad,
Yes.
Vogel,
Abstain.
Baxter. Yes. Russell,
Aye.
Vickers,
Reluctant, yes.
motion passes.
Thank you, sir. All right, we're going to move right along here. We want to respect the citizens' time here to item number 13, and that's Z-10014. Is the applicant present? If the applicant is present, please make your way to the podium.
Present.
And just give us 1 minute. We're going to have the reading.
Item 13, file number Z 10014. This is LE Holdings duplex conditional use permit, 3015 South Izzard Street. The applicant is requesting a CUP to allow for the construction of a duplex on this R3 zone property. The site contains a 7,000 square foot vacant lot. The request is in the Central City Planning District. The land use plan shows residential low density for the area. The proposed duplex structure will be approximately 2,300 square feet in area and 1 story in height. The exterior of the structure will be constructed of brick. The proposed structure complies with all ordinance required minimum setbacks from property lines. An access drive from South Izzard Street will serve the property. There will be 3 parking spaces located in front of the proposed duplex structure, and the parking plan complies with ordinance standards. Staff is in support of the requested CUP. Staff believes the request is reasonable. The proposed use is appropriate for this location. Staff recommends approval of the CUP request subject to compliance with the comments and conditions noted in paragraph E and the staff analysis of the agenda staff report.
Thank you. Applicant, please state your name for the record.
Mondrell Ellis.
All right, here. And you actually have 1 card in opposition. You can choose to speak now, or you can yield your time and defer it and come back afterwards.
I'd like to defer.
All right, thank you. So we have 1 card. It's Robert Lawson.
My name is Robert Lawson, and I oppose them putting a duplex on that property. I think it should be one family dwellings. They already have built one across the street from my house now, and this would be on the side of my house. It's going to be a duplex. I think that it'll be a little bit crowded in that area. Plus, I have another vacant lot directly in front of me, and I'm sure they're going to put something on that lot pretty soon. I think it should be a one family dwelling.
All right. Well, if that's all, thank you very much for your comments on this.
Thank you.
All right, and we're going to ask the applicant to come back up. And feel free to ask any of the questions that the opposition has. The floor is yours.
With concerns with the lot in front of them, I tried to purchase it. It's tied up with tax problems, federal tax problems, so it'll be down the road sometime if it's ever for sale. But I think a duplex, I have one right across the street. It's community. It's community. They have a park right down the road. The crime in that area has kind of went down. We've linked it up. It's another building out in that area also. I understand his thoughts of it and his feelings of it, but the one across the street, in my application, if the police are called or anything, they're automatically evicted. I just don't see the reason why I shouldn't be able to build.
No, I understand. All right, so at this time, I open the floor up to any of the commissioners. Do you have any questions or comments for the applicant? And if not, we'll take a motion.
Make a motion to approve application Z10014 as submitted with all staff recommendations.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Make it a roll call vote, please.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Hart?
Yes.
Hodges?
Yes.
Lunday? McDonald?
Yes.
Person?
Yes.
Samad?
Yes.
Vogel?
Yes.
Baxter?
Aye.
Russell?
Aye.
Vickers?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, motion passes. Thank you very much, sir, for coming out.
Thank y'all for your time.
And we have our last item on the agenda, our last but certainly not least, item number 23Z-10021. Is the applicant present? If so, please make your way to the podium and we will have the reading, please.
Item 23, file 10,021. This is E&Y Development LLC, PDR, located at 117 Rice Street. The applicant is proposing to rezone the property from R3 to PDR for a single-family residential development. The 50 by 135 feet lot is proposed to be subdivided into two separate lots, each being 25 feet by 135 feet in area. Each lot will contain a two-story single-family residence. The applicant will not reside on the property and intends to market both single-family residences for sale in the future. Each single-family residence will be 2,249 square feet in area and will contain a separate walkway and concrete driveway extending from Rice Street. Section 36502B1A requires one parking space for each single-family residence. The site plan shows a 12-foot wide concrete driveway extending from Rice Street. There will also be a one-car wide garage on the front of each residence. Staff feels the parking is sufficient and does meet code requirements. Site plan shows front and rear building setbacks of over 25 feet and 5-foot side yard setbacks. A total separation of 10 feet is shown between each residence. The proposed residences shall not exceed the 35-foot height limit. To staff's knowledge, there are no outstanding issues associated with this application. Staff believes the proposed development is appropriate use for this property. Staff believes the proposed development will not be out of character with the development pattern in the area. Properties in the general area contain a mixture of residential zoning and uses, with some properties containing a higher density than this proposed development. Staff believes the minor increase in traffic will not increase the overall traffic flow in the general area and will not have an adverse impact on the surrounding properties. Staff recommends approval of the requested PDR rezoning subject to compliance with the comments and conditions outlined in paragraph E and the staff analysis of the agenda staff report.
Thank you. All right, applicant, please state your name for the record.
Roy
Roy Andrews, representing the applicant.
All right, great. There are several cards in opposition. Would you like to speak now or defer your time?
I'll defer my time.
Thank you. All right, so we have several cards here. I will start off with the first one here is Scott Jones. If you're present, please approach the podium. No, go ahead. Let's see, we have, Steve Erickson.
Erickson, thank you, guys. I live at 110 Rice Street. Next door is Tom, who's been in the McGuire house since his grandfather built it. Keeps an eye on the neighborhood. We've been at 110 Rice Street for over 10 years. Scott's across the street. Jimmy Owens took Jim and Joyce's house down to the studs and built it up, and I know that it wouldn't be legal today, but that house is within a foot of the property barrier. So the whole side of the house is within a foot of that property barrier, and I guess that's got grandfathered in because it's a 100-year-old house. I've lived in the neighborhood for a long time. Barton Street, A Street, Ridgeway, Ash and Rose, and now Rice Street. I'm a physician in town. I'm one of the medical examiners at the Arkansas State Crime Lab. The neighbors are invested in that little stretch of one-way street from Markham to, I guess, 2nd Street. Then it turns into two ways. It's very narrow. Scott has to have the car come get him because the van can't fit down there. We've had, of course, the lot where this was burnt, and the fire department had a lot of difficulty moving in there. But we do keep an eye on the neighborhood. We're not Baja Hillcrest. We're not like Thayer, Fountain, and Grove. We have to keep an eye on our neighborhood and keep it consistent. And we were here on May 9th, and Mr. McGuire has written up quite a response to this. I'm not as good in the bureaucratic or techno speak of this. We thought that was going to be it, but a sort of an end run took place, and now we're here when on May 9th it was mentioned that this wasn't to quote one of the staff members, this was not a planned development, and now it is. So we're a little bit confused about that. We've had to try to protect our neighborhood. The next door to us, they were going to put one of those Airbnbs in, and that's all well and good a couple years ago, but you see the problems they're causing now. So we had to come here before. This is our third time here to protect our neighborhood. Google map this Rice Street, the one block, and look how crowded it is. And look at this lot. It's 50 feet wide. I thought they were going to build a 19-foot wide house, but it says 15 feet up there. So that leaves 4 feet between the edge of that house and Jimmy's house. What we're most concerned with is to take this into this new PDR district. Is it applicable to what it's not supposed to do? Are they compatible with the surrounding areas? This is brand new. This is not consistent with any house in the 4 or 5 block area. They've got some of these tall, thin houses way down on Rice Street, but nothing in this area of Rice Street. Go look at this place. 25 feet, putting 2 residences in there is not compatible with the houses of the surrounding area. You can see, where's our house? Oh, there's the apartment there. Our house is right to the right. Tom's is right to the right. And there's the lot. You can keep going. And there's the lot. And there's Jimmy's brand new house that he reconstructed. You can see that that's within 1 foot of that property line. And the other one's about 4 feet. So there should be some good distance between that multi-use apartment and these lots. There's nothing wrong with this lot. It's not incompatible with anything. It's not harmonious. This plan is not harmonious with the character of the neighborhood. This is direct from quotes from the plan zoning district sections. Whether it creates a desirable or stable environment, I don't think it's not going to, is going to create an unstable environment. I think it's, I looked at the village, I said, well, that's interesting, but it's not our neighborhood. It's not. I mean, so I don't think it's going to really create an undesirable or unstable environment for our little one-way street with cars parked all along it. They'll be able to pull into the driveways, sure, so that shouldn't be that more congestion, but it's a complete sea change from the houses around it. Not compatible with the surrounding houses, not harmonious with the characters of the houses. And there are no extraordinary hardships of that lot to build a nice single-family dwelling there. We're worried that, Tom uses a word that I had to look up, pecuniary. It means for money. To sell two houses, you're going to make more money than you can in that neighborhood selling one house. And I understand that. But what is not taken into account here is how that disrupts that neighborhood. I mean, that's a brand new concept. We're not gentrified in that neighborhood. We're not totally stressed, but we've had our meth heads walking down the street, and our homeless people walking down the street. We always treat them good. You can't leave anything in your cars because they will come down the street and check the doors. But it's a neighborhood under supervision by us. Tom knows everyone in the neighborhood. We know all of our neighbors, and we're just concerned about putting these two shotgun houses in there and how it's going to make our neighborhood look, the disharmony of it being 3 feet from Jimmy Owens' house, 5 feet from maybe 10 feet from the multiple apartments next door. And we're worried about that someone is wanting to say, hey, let's take this lot. It's never been done in this area, 50 feet wide. Let's cut it down to 25 feet. Let's build a 15-foot house on each side and put these two houses in there. It's going to be different. It's going to look different. It's not fitting in our neighborhood. And we're worried, of course, about housing values and things like that. I've got this response from Tom here. Anybody can look at it. It's got a lot of bureaucrat-ease, but this is, this is from people who are invested in that neighborhood. We like the neighborhood. We like our neighbors. We like walking along it. We're excited about E&Y development. And this contractor, come and put a great single-family house in that lot that looks like the rest of the neighborhood and keeps it consistent and harmonious and compatible. So that's what we want.
Thank you. Scott Jones, would you like to speak?
Sure, I'll just keep it short, though.
It's not mandated that you have to.
Okay, well, I'll just put on the record that I'm against it. I think for a lot of the reasons that were stated, I think sitting here, like the third time we've been here, so I've learned a little bit. You guys need to, the plan development, the reasons for it, right? We have to be able to show that there's a plan development going on. It seems like this is the only thing that, it's not like a part of a plan. There's not like mixed, because I think I was hearing something about to be considered as a plan development, you have to show a concerted effort for multiple things going in, right? So businesses, different things. So there's a question on that. I'll leave it at that. Does it qualify as a plan development when this is the only thing that's being done? And then the only other statement I kind of want to put out there is we don't get to take this back. This might be an idea, but once you split this lot, it's always split. So if it turns out that people don't want to live in this kind of scenario, once it's done, it's done. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Liz Wilcox.
Hi, I'm Lisa Wilcox, and I live on 110 Rice Street. Of course, the same way Steve has said, the infrastructure cannot have two new homes just completely built on one small lot. that is a 0.14 acre lot. So they are breaking it up into 0.077. That is so small, and there is no way that they can even have 10 feet between the two homes. I just don't understand it. The garbage trucks can't come down the road. We cannot have the fire brigade come down. We have to get people to move their vehicles just so they could get through. It's just there's too many people living on the street for what the infrastructure is, and it would be great. We're not opposed to a single-family home. That's all we're asking, is just a single-family home. Thank you.
Thank you. And we have Josh Counts.
Thank you. Josh Counts. I live at 121 Rice. I've lived there about 5.5 years. I'm opposed to this less on aesthetic grounds and more on the congestion issue. As it's already been noted, the infrastructure of the street. So part of the reason that the lot is empty is because the previous house burned down. Part of the reason the fire, which burned most of the day, went on for so long is that the fire trucks could not get to the house. I have had to call an ambulance in the last year. The ambulance could not get to my home. They had to, when they figured out that they couldn't reach it and get down the street, they had to circle the block. So if the issue that I'd called about had been a little more serious, I might not be here today. I understand that there's going to be parking in the back, so probably the argument that the applicant would make is that that will be taken care of and they won't add to any of the congestion on the street. But actually, if these are sold to couples, because there's only going to be a garage, I think those are single-car garages. If these are sold to couples, most people have two houses, two cars. So you're going to end up with an additional two cars. We have two couples to buy the homes, two additional cars at least. They're going to end up parked on the street. If this is used, this ends up being rented out. We get more than two people living there. Potentially, there are going to be more cars parked on the street. If this goes for Airbnb, then we're going to have a lot more chaos because we're going to have a constant cycle of people parking wherever they can, because I don't feel like when people go to an Airbnb, they're necessarily reading the instructions on where they're supposed to park. Additionally, why you could end up with more than two vehicles in front of the house parked on the street is because people are not going to want to drive around into the alley and park in this garage that's going to be there. The turning radius out of that alley is not realistic for these tiny lots that they're trying to make. Only other thing I have is section 3112, subsection A, item 2 of the municipal code. This is on variances. The granting of a variance will not be detrimental to the public safety, health, or welfare, or injurious to other property. I think that there would be a bet, if the commission were to approve this, they'd really be making a bet that this is not going to cause additional issues on our little block. And I think that they're going to find that the probability weighs in the other direction. And as I pointed out, this is not a marginal issue. If people can't get ambulances to their homes, the cost could be a lot higher. Thank you.
Thank you. With the applicant, please come back up to the podium and feel free to address any of the concerns that the opposition had, and the floor is yours.
Thank you. So kind of running down through, this builder, their task is really looking at empty lots in the downtown area that need to be revitalized, where houses have burned, such as this one, or houses need to be demoed and rebuilt. And they've found a niche in the market that they build a house that sells rather quickly. It meets market demand for as far as size goes, and it fits an area that people are wanting to move back into. This area is a prominent area. This has been a great area, and it's adjacent to UAMS and downtown, and a house that's 2,200 plus square feet, still a decent sized house. It's 3 bedrooms, has a play space in it downstairs, does have a single car garage with a sufficient driveway that if they utilize the garage and the driveway, they could actually get 3 cars off the street. When you looked at Google Earth earlier or Street View, if you paid attention, only one of the houses had off-street parking in this area. If parking is an issue, then maybe that's something that the city can look at addressing with maybe no parking on one side of the street to provide better access. But I don't think that if a house is going to be built here, then there is going to be additional traffic. This site plan is different than what was submitted before. Yes, we looked at coming into the alleyway before, but this new plan does enter from the front, does enter from Rice Street with a garage on Rice and, like I said before, a driveway separate for each residence. If it was an Airbnb, obviously y'all have a permitting process, and that would have to be vetted out by this commission prior to a permit being granted, and at that time, these neighbors and residents would be able to come back and truly speak their mind prior to that being granted. Just to answer one quick question before, if a lot is split, certainly a lot can be unsplit and combined. If a homeowner wanted to come in and buy 3 adjacent lots, no matter how wide they were, and wanted to build one, combine them all into one lot and build on that lot, they could certainly do that. So this is not set in stone forever. If there's no other questions, I think I've tried to answer the comments that were made.
All right, thank you. At this particular time, I'm going to open the floor up to any of the commissioners for any questions or comments. And if any questions or comments?
We need housing.
If we do not have any questions or comments, I would like to entertain a motion, please.
Make a motion to approve the application as submitted with all staff's recommendations.
Second. I have a motion and second on the floor. Can I get a roll call vote, please?
Yes, sir. Brown?
Who was that raised their hand?
Ms. Wilcox.
Ms. Wilcox. I apologize about that. Please come to the podium here, and I will give you just a minute to ask your question.
So the problem with the parking from all of the alleyways is everybody, because the homes are so old, the alleyways are built up with stone. So when you drive down the alleyway, it's one car, and I cannot build a parking spot in my backyard because the people behind me have these huge rock walls. So there's no way of turning out, and I understand that he's saying, well, the cars need to be moved or one way of the street, but that is not going to be an option. I mean, I park one of our trucks in someone else's backyard just because we do not have space for parking. The trash people can't get by. They're constantly knocking on the door for me to come find whoever's car's parked so we can move it so they can get the garbage truck coming through. We are definitely having some issues that cannot sustain 2 homes. And is it not somewhere said that for every bedroom you have to have a parking spot? No. Is that not true? No. No? Okay.
A quick point.
Thank you for your comments, Ms. Wilcox. Go ahead, Commissioner.
I want to sort of speak to what she just said. Maybe I'm confused. There is no access via car to this home from the alley. There's no parking in the alley, and there's no parking space proposed in the backyard of this home. Am I seeing that correctly?
Yes.
Okay.
That is true.
So I just wanted to make that clear because it seems like you indicated that
I do
there
understand.
would be a
but
car
he
back
was
there.
saying we need to do something else. The neighborhood itself needs to do something about
Okay.
the parking.
Okay.
Which I was explaining my point why I cannot do anything about the parking.
No, we understand, Ms. Wilcox. Thank you so much. Thank you. There's a motion and a second on the table here, and and need a roll call vote, please.
Yes, sir. Brown?
Yes.
Hart?
Yes.
Hodges?
No.
Lunday? McDonald?
No.
Person?
No.
Samad?
No.
Vogel?
No.
Baxter? Yes. Russell?
Aye.
Vickers?
No.
Motion fails.
Thank you, everybody, for coming out. Thank you, applicant. And I know this has been a long meeting here today, and I thank all the commissioners here, as well as staff, and our esteemed citizens, most importantly. Do we have any other business? If not, this meeting is adjourned.
Chair.
Oh,
Chair.
I'm sorry, Commissioner McDonald. I'm sorry about that. I did not hear you.
so.
Go ahead.
I think it's Commissioner Vogel can go first. It might be the same question I had.
Commissioner Vogel, go ahead.
I don't have a question for the commission. I have one for staff, and maybe it's more of a recommendation. But prior to us leaving the City Hall, we used to have a site review plan subcommittee that was very helpful, and it allowed commissioners who wanted to volunteer to be on that subcommittee to go through the site plans with the applicants and staff and ask questions. I know there were some laws that required those meetings now to be documented and published. I think that was the reason the meetings ceased, due to the difficult nature of accommodating all those requirements. But I would seriously ask that the staff look at the, process of site plan review and have a subcommittee that we could, reform that to help everyone be a little bit more familiar with some of these issues before they come up. That was all I wanted to share. Sorry, Commissioner McDonald. Thank you for letting me go.
Okay, no problem. My question was about the retreat. Are we still having that, or has that been something that has been canceled?
No, ma'am. We're still we'll still be having that. Again, I think that it's because due to a change in staff that sort of got pushed to the side, but we will have one before the end of the year. I think that I had promised Commissioner Russell that very same thing. And Commissioner Vogel, to your question, we will discuss how best we can do that. I do remember when I first started at the city, I think one of the first meetings that I had was one of those subcommittee meetings that you referred to. We'll check into how we can accommodate that and still abide by all notification of meeting requirements and laws.
Yeah, Chairman Vickers, Zoom capabilities go away next month. Is that right? No more Zoom?
Well, we had certain instances. I know Brad and I talked about it, but due to the case of, if you have some type of illness, sickness, maybe out of town, or if you're obviously just can't make it, Brad, I think that we should hold that on just in case for people who just cannot make it due to life or circumstances or physical inabilities to come to the meeting.
Right. Yeah. And we will definitely discuss that, and we'll discuss that with our IT director. I was actually visited the boardroom at the board meeting the other night. It's beautiful, by the way. There was no WebEx access during that meeting. In a meeting I had previously before that meeting, it was also discussed about WebEx and whether we can do it or not. And I think that was still up in the air, but I know that the room has not been set up for that as of yet. But
If that's something you can check on, definitely let us know. We would love to.
But we will always try to accommodate everybody.
Yeah, that would be great. That would be great. Zoom is a good idea. So, alternative, I should say. Are there any other business that we need to discuss? If not, thank you, everybody, for your hard work today. Thank you, citizens, and this meeting is adjourned.